Happy Friday, ladies and people in the chat. How you guys doing?
Happy
Now,
Friday.
hi. Now, let me introduce the panelists for tonight. We have at Team Della, Mistaken, Cece,
Hey. I missed y'all last week.
Yes, we missed you.
We missed you too.
and we are supposed to have a few guys joining us. They're a little late, but we'll excuse the tardiness.
The party.
It's time for the party. My name is Shantae, not to be confused with Shantae, and this is a chic critique.
What about Tam?
I said Tam.
She
You were
said,
talking.
Oh, I missed it. Sorry.
Tam heard it. She was like,
Cece, like, don't forget Tam. Yes.
Tam, I was going down looking and waiting. I was like, what about Tam?
Tam, can we get a debut of your hat, please?
Yes.
Bad hair day.
Bad hair day. AKA didn't feel like combing my hair, but it's cool. I got short hair, so I can put a little hat on.
Yes.
hey, everybody in the chat.
Hey,
I see Catherine, Dr. Steele, 97, Steven. Hey, y'all.
You know 97 is gonna be here for you, baby.
Oh, yes. I love it. Oh, let's just get straight to the point. So over the week, I saw a video. Somebody had actually dropped this link in the Facebook chat, the Lapeef Facebook chat. If you're not a part of that, you need to join the group. But anyway, there's a football player. I think he plays football. His name is Travis Kelce. I hope I'm saying his name right. Anyway, he's dating a young lady by the name of is that his name?
Travis Kelce.
And so he's dating a young lady by the name of Kayla Nicole. And so Kayla, undoubtedly, they parted ways because she has been in a relationship with him for 5 years, on and off, and no ring. So my question to you ladies is, one, why do people stay in relationships they don't want? It's a two-part question. And then two, when do you think it's a proper time to leave if you're not getting the outcome you want? Because remember, men always say women can't waste their time because your youth is precious. That's the prime of your life. So what do you guys think? Do I need to repeat the questions? First question. Let's just do the first question first. Why do people stay in relationships they don't want? Why do you think that is? And that's both men and women.
They comfortable. I think sometimes people get complacent. Some people don't want to start all over. Some people they're just content. They're content with what they have. Maybe they know they can do better, deserve better, but some people don't want to start all over. Like for those that are dating, like that starting over process is like I hate them early stages. What's your favorite color? What do you like to do for fun? I hate that. I'm like, can we just skip past this part now? Like, but it's necessary because you want to get to know the person. But I think people stay because I think out of fear too. I think some people probably feel like I probably won't be able to do better than what I have, so I might as well stay. I don't know. I think some people tend to breadcrumb you a little bit to where, they give you just enough to keep you around for you not to leave, but it's not necessarily giving you what you want, which obviously she wanted the ring. So she stuck around for 5 years. If a man don't know in 5 years that he wants to marry you, girl, he probably don't want to marry you. But the real question is, why did she stick around? Because I feel like if he wasn't who he was, she probably wouldn't have stuck around. If he wasn't this famous athlete making millions of dollars, I don't think she would have stuck around.
Really? You don't know regular people who stick around for 5 years? I know plenty of women who are in relationships.
I mean, yeah, but we're talking about her in particular. Like, I'm not necessarily speaking on, we all know some people. You done been with that man for 15 years, 3 kids, and he still ain't married you. We know some people like that. But we were talking about them in particular. So I feel like for her, you stuck around because of the status. You like the status and what you gained by being his girlfriend. How many people, I don't know her personally, but how many people really knew who she was until they became like this popular Instagram social media couple? You know, they were cute.
But wouldn't that be an assumption though? Because she could possibly really love this dude. You know, I
No,
think
I'm not saying she don't love him, but what are her reasons behind staying for 5 years and you wanted a ring and you wanted to get married and it didn't happen?
But maybe she didn't want to get married. Like, how do we know that marriage was
No,
the
that's what
goal
she
for
said.
her?
That was
she
the
she
goal.
left because of marriage. She
Yes.
Yeah.
left because of that. But
She
my
said
question
5 years,
is,
no ring, 1,865 days. Yeah, she wanted to get married.
she did. But my question would be, what would be, I just don't want to automatically put her in the space of she's only in it for the money, because it could be that she's just like many other women we know. I know two women in particular right now who are with men they've been with for years, more than 5 years, wanting to be married, and he ain't asked them.
Well, I think some of it too is sometimes people would rather be with someone than no one. And then when you add the fact that, like, I believe she was a model or something too, that her I guess her career, you know how when they say some people complement each other, I think she probably had in her mind the ideal situation of what that would look like for her. So she's this model and he's this, football player, and so you stay in the situation to try to play out what you envision, what it is that you want, while she's overlooking the fact that although that's what she's planned in her head, that's the furthest thing from his mind. And I'm just from knowing like some athletes and stuff like that, when you have options, a lot of times they are going to have that main chick who is going to be that chick that's going to be the down for them chick, while they're still looking for other opportunities. And so I think, sometimes women get caught up in saying, well, I'm okay with being in this situation as long as I'm the main one. And I think she probably wanted more, and he just wasn't ready to give her that. And so I think once she finally got to the mindset of like, it's not going in the direction that I want, she finally stepped out. But I think she stayed in a lot longer than she needed to, just because personally, I think there was something that held her there, that she was getting something out of it that allowed her to stay that long, even though she knew she didn't end up, it wasn't going in the direction that she wanted.
I have to agree, mistaken. There has to be reciprocity on some level. So she was certainly getting something out of it, that, convinced her to stay for as long as she did. But, I mean, obviously the young woman was hopeful that the relationship would turn into something that, she envisioned. So good for her for making the decision to, leave when she realized and accepted the fact that it was no longer serving her. But that the courage to leave, that time comes at different times for every woman and for every man. And so, not everyone has the courage to even leave. So kudos to her for making that decision, because it's not always the easiest decision. Being in a relationship with somebody for 5 years, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long, but it is, and so it's not always just that easy to just get up and walk away. I know YouTube likes to make it seem like it's just really easy to wipe your hands with people, be done, and to just leave. So kudos to her.
I think also like something that we've discussed before is that women and men both fall in love with potential, right? Like what we think will be the outcome, like Mistaken said. We see so much in what we want from you that we ignore what's right and what's being presented to us. So you stick around and say, you know what? Eventually they're going to change. Eventually they're going to get here. Eventually we're going to be able to be the couple that I envision, when it's like they're showing you who you are, who they are, and you stick around and you wait and you wait, and then time passed and you're like, well, I want a return on my investment. Like I've spent a lot of time here, maybe possibly something is going to change. I can finally get what I'm hoping for. And I actually was having a conversation. It's actually interesting from a different perspective. This past weekend when I was traveling, um, there was a woman who actually, her man stuck around. She was like, I didn't want to get married. They've been together for 20 years, I believe, celebrating 7 years of marriage now. And she was like, "Well, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to commit. He stuck around for me and waited." So, it's on the flip side too. It goes both ways that there are men who wait just as much as women may wait. Um, and in this particular situation, I agree with Tam and mistaken. There was something she was getting out of it. I didn't know who this woman was until actually I learned her name today, but I knew her face because of how she went viral because of the relationship about, her picture popped up and it was like, look at this couple. But I also remember her being in the media for saying he's not paying for anything. And then when I started looking up who she was, she's also the person who made a comment about Cam Newton saying what men want in a woman. So if you are having a lot of these public conversations, right? Like it might lead to strife in your relationship. Like you're talking about how a man is not financially supporting you and he's not a provider. Like you're publicly saying that. I don't know if that's like 100% true, but this is the first time that she went viral, right? Then you have her discussing, Cam Newton's video about, I mean, again, I didn't agree with Cam so much in certain things and how he presented it, but her going and saying, well, why don't you get a Michelin chef then if you want a woman who cooks? And it's like, okay, these are all things that kind of don't make you look like the best wife material. So I can't really say like she presented herself as a wife if you're publicly making these statements. So I think it's important to look at it from that way too. And if you're going to talk about Cam Newton, Mr.
And I think you got an echo
Ball,
coming
you're
through.
echoing, sir. Thank you for coming in, but you were echoing. Thank you, sir, for muting your line. It's you're muted now, so thank you, sir. Um, so I mean, it also goes to the point, like if you are talking about somebody and you're a prominent person in your man's profession, let's keep that also in mind. Like you're talking about Cam Newton. And I'm not saying that this may happen, but you presented something for your partner. Like this is the field he's in. Now he has to defend his girl while amongst his colleagues, like you're presenting strife there. So I don't know. Like if you're combating women cooking, you're combating against the things that a man is saying that are essential for a relationship. What makes you think that you're going to be marriage material? So I think there was a lot to unpack when I Googled her name.
I think with the she did say that it was a rumor that he made her go half for everything
I
in
saw
the
that too.
relationship. Yeah, so I don't think that was actually factual, that part. Because she doesn't necessarily give me the vibes where she would stay with any man that's making her pay half of everything in a relationship. So yeah, she did speak out about that part. But there was something about, rumors of infidelity, but neither one of them have spoken out about why their relationship ended. So it's hard to make speculations about somebody's relationship when they're not publicly speaking out about it. And we don't really know. We can only give our opinion just based off of, the small little things that they choose to share. And she chose to share that she wanted a ring. She was with that man for 5 years and she wanted a ring and she didn't get it. So I think now is the time where, not saying that he was perfect. I mean, let's be honest, he was an athlete. But I think for her now is the time to do some self-reflection. Why were you there for 5 years without a ring? What was it about you that maybe he didn't feel was marriage material, that he wanted to propose? Or maybe he flat out told you, I'm not ready to get married right now. So did you choose to potentially overlook that if he did come out and tell you he wasn't ready to be married? Or were you trying to paint a different picture, like, oh, he'll be ready soon, I'll stick it out, I'll ride it out? But if a man is telling you he doesn't want to be married, he's not trying to be married, like, you take that for face value for what it is and move accordingly.
I was going to say, I also think too, it is a level of having your own standards of expectations. And I would say that if that was her end goal, was that communicated to him? And more than likely, I don't think it probably was. I think a lot of times is like, oh, this is the person that I'm going to get with. And then later on, you end up, I guess catching feelings. And now you're in this long term relationship. And now you're looking for it to go somewhere. But you never went in it with a certain standard of expectation to be expressed to that other person. So everybody's clear on what it is that you're intending on, and it would have given him that space to say, okay, well, that's not where I'm at right now, and I'm not looking, to get married anytime soon or anything like that. I think a lot of times we go into these situations where we're not having our own standards, and then when things aren't going the way that we want, then we begin to set those standards and then expect that person to then follow, or adjust to those standards, when that you should have already known what you wanted or what you were looking for when you went in that situation. And it's not fair to go ahead and then try to switch it up all of a sudden and then blame the guy or the girl for that reason, when that other person is not on that same page with you.
Welcome, Shan. Thank you for coming. Did you want to add to that? Because I have a question actually that Mistaken just mentioned something, and I wanted to piggyback.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you, ladies, for having me. I
My
appreciate it.
question. Oh, no problem. Thank you for coming. A little tardy, but it was okay. You made it. It's all that matters.
Well, I didn't get a. Don't start with me.
Shane, I'm joking.
I got a link at 6:20 talking about.
I love
Anyways,
you.
go ahead.
I love you. My question is: so are you so new generation? It's safe to say that we need to start. Most relationships, when you're going on dates, people are just not dating with intent these days. Because it used to be you were dating somebody, automatically you would think it was going to lead to something, but now it's almost reverse. You have to assume that it's not going anywhere. You have to ask, is that what we're saying?
I think Della mentioned a couple of weeks ago on one of our other shows. I want to say it was Della. Let me know if I'm wrong, Della. But the younger generation isn't really getting married. I remember somebody saying that. I don't know if it was Della or not. But and let's keep in mind, they're in their 20s. They're young. So that may be the reason why that relationship didn't progress to the level maybe she wanted it to, because they're young, and people are saying that this younger generation is choosing not to rush to get married in their 20s. They're taking their time. So that could be a deciding factor.
Absolutely. And let's keep in mind the person that came on the panel with Logic, the young gentleman who spoke about, what was he, like 21, 22? Something like that. He had a party or something. He's doing well financially. And when we asked him about marriage, he was like, what? Now I got 4 girls in rotation. Stop playing. Like, I'm not trying to get married right now. So, it's true. The younger generation, there is a decline in marriage. That is a statistic that is out there, that marriage is on the decline. So, it's not, that might not have been their goal at the end of the day, to get married. It might not have been a discussion in the beginning. Like Mistaken said, did they have these conversations? Like, are they vetting like we would vet, right? They probably aren't.
RJ says that's not true. Young people do want to get married.
I mean, I definitely think that young people want to get married. They just don't have the tools, I mean, these, vetting for a lifetime spouse is not something that is not knowledge that people are born with. And so, you have to learn this. And ideally it would be the most ideal situation that you are raised in a household that is teaching you and providing you with the knowledge and the tools to be able to go out in the real world and to be able to vet these kinds of, people for yourself, So at the end of the day, Mistaken made a good point where she probably got into the relationship. And then once she realized what some of her standards and boundaries were and saw that they weren't being met at that point, that's when she was able to vocalize for herself what her needs and her wants are. Better late than never, but at the end of the day, a lot of young people, they're not learning this until later. And more importantly, times are different. And so people aren't leaving the house thinking about wanting to have kids and start a family. People are leaving the house thinking about how the hell am I going to survive?
Anybody else wanted to answer that question or add to that question? So my next question would be, so can we all agree that for the most part the end goal is marriage? Do anybody disagree with that?
I don't think that is for all. I think some people are the end goal for some people is marriage, right? But I do think there are a lot who the end goal is companionship. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a marriage per se. So you have, and just based on like what I have been reading, like the whole cohabitation thing is like increasing a lot across, not just here in the States, but in even so in other countries. So I think the the idea of marriage, it may not necessarily be as valued as it once was. I do think there are people who, like the young gentleman said when I was doing research from before, what Tim was referring to was that it did say young people do want to get married. Like they are, like they're not against marriage. They are putting it off until later on. But I also think that you have this other group that are saying, I'm okay with the lifetime partnership situation without necessarily taking that step over into marriage.
Especially people who are divorced, Mistaken. They
Mhm.
want that life partner, and they want that life partner to live with. And that's, I mean, look, Shantae, you could screw up your face and turn it up.
Oh, but
In
ironic. That's
this
crazy.
dating age and world, there are many people who are asking for a life partner.
Look at Oprah. Look at Oprah.
I do not want to. I don't want a marriage. A marriage is only a contractual agreement. I don't need that to love you. That is really what's being the dialogue that I hear a lot, especially in this dating space. It's life partner.
I
Is it
hear
what I want? No.
I hear that too, but crazy enough, the married men that I've met want to marry again. I've not married. They don't. I mean, they do. The married men that I've spoken to say they're against marriage. They just want it with the right person. Am I wrong on that?
Think,
So men just don't want to be married anymore. They just want a life partner.
Shannon, you can answer that
I
question.
know. I was going to say,
At the event, and I remember what he said now.
What did he say?
Well, what he said is that for him, marriage isn't a priority, but if it was the right person and that was something that was important to them, then, he would consider it for sure.
Okay.
Shannon.
Yeah, and he also did say that you need to lay them ground rules before you get in a relationship too. You should have that timeline for a ring. You need to attend 2 years. I'm not playing house with you all this time. But Shannon's on the panel. He could speak for himself, but we're just stenographering. We had our lobby with Latif podcast.
Well, I mean, so for me, I've been married twice. So twice married, twice divorced. And people often ask me, like, Shan, will you get married a third time? And I'm 50 years old, turned 50 in June. So it's like, wow, and the answer is yes, I would get married, but I'm not rushing to get married like I once was. And a lot of men even divorced, do still want to get married. And the life partner thing is attractive, but it depends on where you are in life. So, and it depends on who you're asking. So, there's a lot of benefits to marriage that a lot of people, young people especially, don't really see. It's almost like getting life insurance, right? The older you get, the more important the more you realize life insurance is really important. I need to go ahead and give me a life insurance policy. Nobody's thinking about life insurance policy at 22. Arguably, nobody's thinking about the benefits of marriage at 22. And so that's why it's like, get married. Why? What's the social reason? What's the upside of doing such? Well, one is a lot of financial benefits. You'll get richer. Two, you'll live longer. Married people tend to live, statistically, married people live longer. If you want to be here longer on this planet and walking around and contributing to society, marriage is the goal. And if you want to check out sooner than later, then stay single as long as you possibly can, because the odds are you will. So, and there's a lot of other benefits, tax benefits, and there's social benefits, and it's a lot of different things to it grounds you. You start thinking about things that's bigger than yourself. But these are the things that are typically aligned with people who are mature and realize the benefits of those things, where young people don't. It is true that younger people are not getting married as much as they used to, and it's even more so for the Black community. But it's a two-sided coin. I think we had a conversation once before, because I don't believe that particularly young men should get married, because I don't think that they're prepared to be the great husbands that they need to be. A lot of young guys fresh out of high, a lot of women say, well, I want my daughter to get married and she's 21 and she has a boyfriend, he's 22. And I don't think that that's a good relationship. And the statistics bear that out as well, because those people tend to get divorced faster. The younger they are, the faster they get divorced. And so when there's an age gap difference, I think it works out better. Why? Because that guy is prepared to be the guy that he needs to be. And the woman is allowed to be the woman that she needs to be for the relationship. So older guys who was once married, do they want to get divorced again? Most of them do, because they see the benefits in it. And the whole life partnership thing, and this is just we just riding it out until one of us, we're gonna just kick it. We're leaving the government out of it. Well, it depends on who you are. That may not be the best thing for a lot of men, depending on who you are, depending on how much money you make. You got to think about, because there's a real liability that men take on, typically in America, when he brings on a wife. It just is what it is. 97% of alimonies are paid by men, 3% are paid by women, right? It's a hard split. There's no other else. So if you got 9.7 out of people in a room paying alimony that are men are looking at that like, wow, man, and then you look at it and you say, well, damn, it's most women that are running to the divorce court, and I'm getting married because I love her, and she's getting married because maybe not necessarily the same reasons that I'm marrying her. What's the benefit in me even doing that? And so I was divorced once. Maybe I got out of that unscathed. Maybe I got out of that, and she took half of everything and I had to rebuild. Why would I want to jump back into that same lion's den, hoping that the next lion won't bite me like the last one did? But men still take that chance, because I think personally, a lot of men get married for love. Because if they looked at the hard numbers and said, well, this is how much my tax break would be. This is how much I get to write off. This is how much it'd be easier to live. If she did this and she was this type of woman for me, then this would allow me to make X amount of money. And without her, I'll only make this much. And he's still gambling. But men are willing to take that gamble. So men who have been married or are older still look at the benefits, and it's a lot of them, for marriage. And I think they, by and large, because I love generalizing, especially when there's enough data to generalize. By and large, men do want to get married. But I think, I'm going to just say it, the more wealthy he is, the more money he has, the more he has to lose. If he's a guy that's 42 years old, was married for 10 years, he married his high school sweetheart. They fell out, they broke up, and he got divorced. And now he is kind of like just working a regular job, nothing special. He's a assistant manager at Home Depot, and he's bringing in average money, doesn't really have many. Then of course he's like, yeah, well, there's a benefit to it. But if you got a guy that has a high net worth, considerable assets, and can move around the world. And depending on how, let's keep it real, depending on how he looks, is he a guy that can typically get a woman that where there's not much issue? It's going to be harder for him to say, yeah, I'm going to jump back into that same ball and chain that I was in before and allow somebody to potentially take what I've built all this time, especially if she lasts over 10 years in California, where alimony is for life. If it's one day over 10-year anniversary, we get a divorce. It's little stuff like that. It's like, wow, it's for every year that we were married up to 10 years, it's half of that times the amount of time that we got married. I mean, that we were married, but at the 10-year mark, it's for life until she gets, or unless she gets married again. And I got to pay alimony. That's what a lot of guys in California here now in Los Angeles, that's what they're thinking. These are the conversations that at happy hour that, at downtown at the Bonaventure Hotel that brothers be having. Like, man, if I do that, she can. If they even have conversations like, man, it's rocky right now, but if I stay for another 2 years, because we've been in 8 years, she's locked in forever. And I have a feeling she's going to check out. She's just waiting out the time. And these are the things that men are worried about. Then other men is like, shit, I ain't even going to get in that position again. That's not going to be me. It's not so she can take my condo and my house over in Brentwood and take half my cars and half the money in my bank account, despite the prenup. And if we present her with a prenup, she's going to have an attitude. So it just depends. But those guys are a small percentage. The guys that have the money that I'm speaking of are a small percentage.
Well, let me ask you a question about those guys, because I read that most guys who have funds marry. That those are not the ones that are not. It's the men who don't have that are the ones who are hesitant to marry. I forgot. It's like the percentage of, especially. I remember. I wish I was prepared for your.
Oh shit! Trill pulled up.
You said what?
I said because I'm talking in the camera, but I look down at the screen. I see my man Trill.
I thought, and I'm going to look for it when somebody else is talking. I thought that people who are wealthy, and I think I heard Kevin Samuel say this, that people who have money marry. I've heard that come out of his mouth as well.
So people who have money stay married.
Stay married.
The people because typically they got married when they didn't have any. So one of the arguments that you hear a lot is, man, you know what? You talk about men who want this feminine friendly, but I looked at her as wife. She ain't all that. Yeah, but that's his college sweetheart. They've been together for 20 years. He ain't getting rid of her. She's been in the game. She's solid. He's not getting rid of her. She helped build that empire that you guys are looking at him flash around. She's not going nowhere. So married men with money who got married early tend to stay married. Married men who are older, who got money and are single today, tend to not get married faster than men who are average earners. They don't, because at that point, they're looking at what they can lose. So more educated you are, the longer you're going to stay married, the more likely you'll get married. The more money you have over a long period of time, and if you got married early, the likely you're going to stay, because men we're pragmatic. We're like, man, she helped me build this. She's been around. I ain't going nowhere. Jeff Bezos as an example, let's use the most wildest example. Take 40 billion. It's you. You were there when I was in the garage building Amazon. 40 billion is yours. I ain't got no problem with the relationship. No problem. Largest payout in the divorce in history, because he knew she's been there 25 years. So But you take a guy, a bachelor, never married, comes into a windfall. He's now 43, 44 years old. He has a net worth roughly of $1 million or more. He's going to start saying, what's the upside? Why do I want to bring somebody in? And after I did 20 years at this firm, or 20 years, I've been working here since 21, and now I'm retired and I got this, and all this is working for me, and I want to bring somebody in to just potentially gamble it away. No, that's typically not the case.
Yeah, but and I'm gonna let somebody else speak, but I think that, like you said, that's such a small percentage of that men who have millions of dollars, that's a small percent. Yeah. It's not going to marry a millionaire. We're talking about average people who are not getting married. That can't possibly be their issue. So there has to be, and it could be in their mind. They may think, oh, she's going to take this money. I don't know. But
One thing that I wanted to point out too, in terms of saying that the age gap and not getting, boys not, well, young men not getting married at younger ages and stuff like that. What I was gonna say is just to push back a little bit with Shannon in regards to the age gap difference. And I know that, older men are pushing that narrative, but the stats don't necessarily support that age gap difference. What it was saying was that that 1 year difference is a less likelihood chance of divorce. The larger the age gap gets, it increases the likelihood of divorce. So, like at 1 year, it is about a 3%. A 1 year age difference is about a 3% greater likelihood of divorce. And then at 5 years, the risk increases to 18%. Then in 10 years, the age difference increased to 39%. But then if there's a 20-year difference, it goes up to 95%. Then anything beyond that, it was like 117% or something like that.
Where'd you read that from? Because every stat that I've read, and this is worldwide, because America is really the only one that get married at the same age. Everybody else is an age gap. Where'd you get that from?
I'll drop it in the back chat.
But you got to remember too, Shan, when you're comparing the United States to other people, the West just does things. I mean, our culture is different. The way we move is just totally different. So what may work in another country under their culture is totally
no, that's true. But it works here too. That's what I'm saying. But we're still all human beings, whether we like it or not, no matter where we live on the planet Earth. And, and so even though we have a different culture here, I don't recall any numbers showing that age gap differences have a higher chance of divorce rate the larger the age gap. In fact, the younger you get married, the likely the chance of you divorcing. That's everywhere. You can read that at the CDC. But I'm interested in reading where she got the numbers.
So I Googled it as well just now. That was the first thing that came up. But if you scroll down, it might be a little bit more of a reliable source at .gov. And it says, to Mistaken's point though, but anywhere between 2 to 10 years older, the divorce rates are lowest. So that I guess would be the safe range here, 2 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a normal range, 2 to 10 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to y'all. Well, I think the sweet spot is probably at most. I think a 5 year would probably be a sweet spot with that 1 to 5 year. But it is.
You probably have more in common in that sweet spot. Like you think about all the general things that would be differences if it was 20 years separation. We're talking music, we're talking culture, we're talking a lot of differences that, it's like, do you even know this song? Like, do you know what Usher did? You see the memes, like, what did Usher do? Like, they know. Like if you drop it 20 years, you're not even in the same genre of life at all. So I would say that sweet spot would have to be 5 years.
Yeah, but I think the issue is when it starts to become the 15, 17, 20 year difference, especially at that 20-year difference. It's like, really? You 40. What you doing with this 20-year-old? Really? What are you doing?
Easier to
a lot.
deal with.
Yeah, y'all always talk about that. Yeah, a lot. And it's the only older women that seem to have that concern. I don't ever hear the older woman is dating a younger man. Nobody say nothing.
Shall we know that there's so
I have to
Here we go with the with the sign language. A lot of it depends on who you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? What do y'all have to talk about? A lot. Half the marriages there where a guy's older and they every car ride is quiet. They don't talk about nothing at home. Simply because they both grew up on Anita Baker as opposed to Beyonce don't necessarily mean that they don't have nothing to talk about. Y'all be thinking that there's this
talking about
like Gertrude and Dante You know, so
Yeah,
Mistaken. You had the article where I think it was you where it was like compatibility versus something else.
Which
Like
one?
another C word, if you remember, we did it on a show maybe like 2-3
versus
weeks ago.
compatibility.
What was it?
Chemistry versus compatibility.
Yeah, chemistry versus compatibility, where it's like, those qualities can be built over time despite, the age gap.
Yes. But you can't say what's peddled is
Depending
what you
on
doing with this, what you doing with that young. It's like what's a 47-year-old doing with a 27-year-old?
I think that we can understand
Power
what
minds would like to know. I'm
so
curious.
We know what they doing.
Especially if he's educated.
the question would really, I mean, I think we're thinking it from a female's perspective. My question would be, okay, is this going to be, if you're my brother or somebody I love, and I know that you're with this young woman, my question would be what is she thinking? Is it true love? Is she going to ride it out with you when the girl, when you get a lot older and she's like just hitting 40, is she going to still be with you when you're 60 and she's 40? You understand what I'm saying? Or when these younger guys, I mean, you're saying sure, but
if he got a bag, sure.
Because you got to ask, what's the 40-year-olds doing now? See, the thing is, all the 40-year-old, all the women that went to school with me is rushing for a mother. It's rushing for me now.
But
it ain't like they doors and getting beat down by men trying to holler at them. Right. So why you think she's gonna get rid of a dude that she's been with for 20 years? Yeah, she's gonna be with him. And people act like the dude is gonna be in a rocking chair, like it's gonna be Mr. on, sitting on in Sealy. It's like, come on, y'all. The examples you guys give, but I get it.
Look,
all older men are not built the same.
You're
exactly
like all men age like you. Let's just be honest.
They can.
I saw the picture, Shan.
They can. All men can, and men know they can. See, that's the thing.
That glow up is real,
side. Whether y'all like it or not, ladies, I'm sorry. The truth is, the father time is on our side. Now, all men may not care to because they get lazy or they already got a woman or whatnot. But if most men can. I'm not special. I don't have no special genes that allow me to be.
But the thing is, typically older men that, have the reach for these younger women, they have something to offer that's alluring for them to even want to enter,
but
to even want to give them an opportunity. So whether it be their physique, both their finances, whatever it is, when you talk about older men dating these younger women, there's, we're not talking about just an average man that doesn't have the capacity to provide. He's unattractive. I mean, we're not talking about that guy, the Pookie and Ray Ray in his 40s, 50s year old, just bagging these 25 and 30-year-olds. Like they don't want them.
So one of the arguments, and I'm gonna let Trill go real quick. One of the arguments is, well, you know what? She ain't dating, an older guy. Like in the chat, in my 20s, if an old guy approached me, it would have been for the money. But it's for the money for the older women too. It ain't like older women got this.
That's not true. I'm looking for.
It is true. No, because now we're not talking about. We talking about averages, right? Let's not use but most women don't make over $85,000. 85% of women, of all women, white, black, Asian, and Latina make $85,000 or less. Only 15% make more. Black women is even worse. So if we talk about averages, let's not talk about the average sister that's doing super well. We're not talking about the average brother that's doing super well. All women need provision. Yeah, old and young.
I'm about to say the provider.
All of them. So all of a sudden, this whole thing, the young women want to go for the money. That's why she's dating the older dude. So is the old chick. These 40-year-old women that be in my DMs want me to take care of them too.
I think I agree. I don't think if as a woman your expectation is for the men to provide provision, I don't think that changes because you get older. That would definitely stay the same.
Thank you, Ms. Taken.
I do agree with that.
Thank you.
Listen,
hypergamy is baked in the cake.
I don't care if you like young girls. That is on. I was just curious that, like, What do y'all talk about?
No, so let me y'all keep
Yeah,
y'all, I'm gonna defend this to the
that's
end.
it.
Listen, it's not that older men like young women. I don't particularly say how old is she? She too old. I don't do that. Nobody does that. Kevin Samuels, my frat brother, me, I don't do that. Men like me want women who are fit, feminine, friendly, faithful, and fun. We want you guys to have these 5 F's. The more high value he is, the more that's non-negotiable. The more average he is, he can probably get rid of one or two of those. But the more that he got going on for himself, those are required. Now, here's the deal. Who has the propensity to be fit, feminine, friendly, faithful, and fun? All 5 F's rock solid. The chick that's 48 or the chick that's 28. When I look at the pool and I'm saying, okay, I need you. Let's start with the fit part. Right there, 8 out of 10 of them has already dropped off the list at over the age of 40. So it's a non-starter to even talk about the feminine, friendly, faithful, and fun part, because 8 of them just got eliminated because they're not fit. So it's not that we want young women, we want a certain type of women, and the probability of that type is very rare amongst women that are older. I would fall in love with a 50-year-old woman. But every time, all of them on this block, all of them downtown in my fashion district, all of them, I can't get past the first F. So then what happens is the younger I start to
raise your F. Start with friendly.
No, he ruled it. First of all, he started with fit, and he got 20% left. Okay,
I got 20% to
Start with
now I got
feminine.
and then it got smaller because the friendliness. And then
we don't necessarily want a young chick. We want a type of chick. And the odds of her having the programming that we want, the type of software that's embedded in her to match with our software and our programming is typically hard to find, because there's certain things that women are not going to do. They just tired. They get older. They become a little bit more apathetic toward shit. You know what? I don't care. And a whole lot of that attitude that comes with that is with older women. And so you just start looking younger, where people are more agreeable, people are more fit, people seem to be a little bit more adventurous and fun and want to do stuff, whereas the older chicks is not there. So it's not an age thing.
And I'm going to move because I want to hear Trill's opinion on this. But let me just tell you, if you're saying that these younger women are peaceful and they cooperate, I don't know what neighborhood you live in, because they don't come to my class. They are very disrespectful. They gonna tell you.
Tell you about yourself real quick.
Honey, they don't count.
Most of these videos y'all posting on TikTok with all these things, those are 20-year-olds.
What?
So I don't
20.
know.
Ain't nobody.
Hey, Trio.
Hey, Trill. Why don't we say hello to Trill? Get the lights out.
What up? How y'all doing, man? Shan, what up, G?
What up, big dog?
Nothing, man. Cooling. I see y'all.
We
I
started
don't want no parts of this age conversation. I'm tired of having it. I had this shit other times, and the older men always get mad at me, G.
It diverted. It went that way. It was.
We know nobody coming for your daughter.
You know, we see eye to eye on that whole age thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just gonna leave you hanging like that.
Nah, but again, like I say, I just wanted to get in and see what the scene was looking like. I don't want to just dive right in and see what y'all was talking about first. But for the record, I definitely agree with Tam on that. You know what I'm saying? But again, Shan is right as well. It just depends on preference. I always say, like me, like younger women annoy the hell out of me. That's just what it is. Like, you know, we be in, you know, kickbacks and lounges and shit with women that's, you know, 22, 23, and I'm only 32. You know what I'm saying? And they already annoy me. So I couldn't imagine 40, 50, and I done built some shit. And I'm way more intellectually advanced than I am now, and trying to have a conversation with one. Like, it's just that shit just seems annoying. But again, it's all about preference and, you know, what you can tolerate, what you can deal with. Whatever floats your boat is cool. But like I said, my daughter, it's not happening. That just is what it is. But, you know, till you stay on.
Daddy about to vet, baby.
Oh yeah, no. That's not happening. It just is what it is.
Did anybody else want to add to that? I move before I move on to the next question. All right,
Trill gonna see. Let's just put, because I'm gonna put 10 years on Trill. His daughter gonna be 21. Trill gonna be 40 something probably. And then he gonna have this young 31-year-old dude who's interested in his 21-year-old daughter. Trill's saying today, no, hell no. But Trill's gonna look at that kid and he's gonna see that young man and he's gonna see his interest in his daughter. And Trill's gonna evaluate more than just his birth date. He's gonna evaluate how well that brother can take care of his daughter for the rest of her life. And he's gonna have to compare that 31-year-old brother who's advanced and whatnot, still young, to that 21-year-old brother that graduated with his daughter. And he's gonna say, which is better here? He don't see it yet. And that's okay, because Trill's only 32. I just want to, in 20 years, I'm 20 years a senior. I would have said this 20 years ago, I was with Trill. 20 years later, it's like, oh.
I literally was talking to a friend today, I kid you not. And she was telling me about a situation with somebody that I also know, that their daughter, who at the time was 20, hid her relationship from them. And the guy was 30, 11-year age gap. He was 31. And when the dad found out, he forbade the relationship. And yeah, I mean, he definitely had reason, but the biggest concern for him was the age difference, because he's like, she literally just got out of her teens. You know, you've lived life, you know, to some degree. You lived way more life and have way more life experience than her. And that was his concern, is the idea of the manipulation factor, and the dude already had like 2 kids. So the father is rightfully concerned, and I completely understood why he would forbid a relationship like that. Now, if you're 32 and a guy is 42, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I agree.
But it's the age of the younger you are, the less mature you are, the less ability that you have to think, because you don't have enough life experience to know where to draw boundaries, what your standards are. That's the age that you're beginning to develop those things.
Yeah, I mean, just and you're 1,000% right. I agree with that. Again, it's not so much the age you got for me, is when the age you got takes place. Makes all the sense in the world. Like I said, when you like you just said, when you're that young, you are still a kid. You 21. You're old enough to buy liquor. You're old enough to buy cigarettes and guns and all of that other shit. But you are still a kid at the end of the day, just in terms of experience and different things like that. And you know what I think about? I think about, hypothetically speaking, if I was single tomorrow, right, and I met a 20-year-old, I could literally puppet string her, just based on experience and just intellect alone. Like she would have no chance. I could toy with her emotions. I can I know what triggers what to get the desired result that I want right now. Would it be horrible? Sure, but just the mere fact that I'm capable of doing it is the issue that I see when we get to talk about my daughter at 20, 21, bringing home somebody that's 30 plus. There's just a drastic difference of experience. It's not so much age, because there's plenty like older dudes be 35, 40, still childish as hell. You know what I'm saying? But most dudes, right, are gonna just be able to manipulate that woman based on intellect alone, especially if you got a little bit of money, because again, at that age, you don't even know what real money is. Going back to what Shan just said, right? You dating dudes at your age, fresh out of college, they got an entry level position, whatever. But somebody that's 35, 40, he got a chance to be, executive level, partner level, right? So he making 200, 150. That's money that you ain't never seen in terms of the type of man you dating. So that right there is gonna jade your view already. So you already going in that bitch with rose-colored glasses. You're not analyzing what you need to be analyzing, and he has that much experience over you. He can literally puppet string you. There's no way around it. A woman that young, and I'm talking about me at 32. A woman that young would have no chance at all with me. I would literally toy with her if I felt like it. And that
now here's
is
the thing. So here's and I hear what you're saying. Here's the thing that everybody seems to take out of this equation, which you just mentioned. You wouldn't do it if her daddy was around, and because if you was the daddy, that nigga wouldn't be toying with your daughter. Because fathers should be covering their daughters until the father can check this dude out see in men, which your daughter don't. What's happening is a lot of these young women are left to their own devices to go out and pick the men on their own. And that's the reason why we're in the condition that we're in now, because women are not telling their daughters. The daddy says, don't mess with that nigga. And she ignores him and messes with him anyway. Now she's baby mama and single. But if you were covering your daughter, if a trio came along and an older trio had to vet that guy and saw that guy and walked and barbecued with that guy and went fishing with that guy and went to the game with that guy and talked to that guy and learned that guy, I bet he wouldn't toy with that daughter's daddy, who was Trill, the older version of Trill. And now all of a sudden that whole dynamic changes. See, what the argument that you're mentioning is if women are out there figuring it out on themselves, and they shouldn't be, because they make bad decisions. But if they had their father involved with the decision making, if they had their father covering them from childhood, and that 32-year-old version of Trill came along, even though Trill could toy with her, Pops is right there to say, yeah, what's up? You ain't toying with you could toy with him. You better toy with one of them ones with a single mama as the parent. You ain't gonna toy with mine.
I'm gonna be honest, most girls, even if the father's around, like my dad was around, the example that I gave you, that dad is around. When a young woman think that she's in love, there is nothing that father is going to be able to say or do to convince her.
Therein lies the American problem, because the women aren't listening to their
daddies.
We're
in America. But that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Therein, like y'all women are not listening to your fathers. And Trill, that's the argument that Trill gave me on King Talk about 3 months ago. He said, when the girl, when she gets where she going, she ain't gonna pay attention. I hope that might be the case. That might be the case for Trill. That happens to be the case for a lot. I just wish it wasn't. And that's why it's important that women are never uncovered. Never, ever uncovered. No matter how old she gets, if dad is around, dad needs to be covering her until her husband can. I get it. Maybe it's an old thought. Maybe it's the old 50-year-old Shannon thinking like that. But if she is properly covered, you ain't got to worry about some dude coming and toying around with her. But the way we got it now in the hood, everybody going to toy around with her because ain't no daddies around. And that's all we know.
That makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like you could literally give women the blueprint. And we say this all the time, and I don't mean to bash on women, right? You could literally get a woman a handbook in terms of the type of game that this man is going to run. But if she likes said man, she's going to do whatever she wants. Do you know how many pastors' daughters get dudes sneaking in their windows, and she's sneaking out. Oh yeah, daddy, I'm going with the girls, but she really going here. Yeah, daddy, I'm going to such and such. She really going here. Like I say, at the end of the day, women gonna do what they want to do, sure. But in terms of what I mean is like, and again, my daughter is no exception to that. She might do what she want to do as well, but it's gonna be consequences for it, for sure. Mm-hmm. So if you make said decisions, then you got to deal with said consequences on your own. And that just is what it is. But that whole, you going out there, I'm getting ready to watch you drive into a car wreck. I'm telling you, hey, don't do that. Don't go this way. You go out there and do it. Those are consequences that you're going to have to deal with on your own. Because again, covering, you can cover somebody as much as you want. But the fact is, you can't be with them 24/7. That's just a facts of life. You know what I'm saying? My pops used to tell me all the time, boy, there ain't nothing in them streets, man. Leader, there ain't nothing out there. Go to school, play ball, do this. And I'm listening to him while he's talking, and I'm checking my, yeah, Pops, you're right. You're right. As soon as I leave the house, I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? But I was just slick enough and savvy enough not to get caught up like a lot of my friends did, and was able to, go live, a life that none of them ever seen. But again, I still chose to do what I want to do. I just got lucky. But in terms of the guidance, though, the guidance is gonna be like, no, again, that somebody that's that much older than you has mental manipulation capability. And I want my daughter to at least have a fighting chance. In terms of money and all of that, again, I'm going to have money. So she's not going to be hurting for money, right? So you need to go out there and find you somebody that you're compatible with, somebody that you can deal with, somebody that has transferable traits. What I mean by transferable traits is, again, he's striving for something right now. So just like Shan said, hypothetically speaking, right? Trill comes knock on the door at 22, 23. Right? I was already halfway. I was already interning for a big oil and gas company already. I was already playing football, you know what I'm saying? Playing football all my life. So again, discipline, path to success, all of that. I've never been a follower. I'm a stand-up nigga. I look you dead in your face, shake your hand, had a conversation with you, had a conversation with the mama. Like, I'm not intimidated. I'm level-headed. All of those things that you're going to be able to tell. There are a lot of 20-something-year-old men with that mindset. Just same way Shan say, all old niggas ain't just old and washed and canes and wheelchairs and shit. All young men are not just out here just doing whatever they want to do, acting a damn fool, throwing their lives away, disrespecting women. It's a bunch of young niggas out here that's focused on getting to what it is that they're trying to get to. Find you one. But if you bring me back home,
you want her to find that, or you want your older version of Trill to be able to recognize that and to say, yeah, give her the green light.
The thing is this, bro. I'm gonna give her all the game in the world in terms of going out there to pick the right person. But again, I can't choose him for her. She has to be with him for the next 40 years, not me. I could recommend, but again, if she don't feel him like that, then okay, yeah, they're gonna get in a relationship and it's gonna crash and burn. But again, all you can do at the end of the day, just like I said 3 months ago in that discussion, give your child the blueprint, give your child the uncut, raw honesty of what's out here. And that be the problem. A lot of dads are scared to have them kind of conversations with their daughter. So their daughter got to go out in the streets and learn it that way. But again, you know, it's literally men that are terrified to talk about sex with their, oh, hell no. Oh, no, hell no. Go to your mom. Go to your mama. Talk about sex or just anything in remotely to that. I don't want my daughter dating until she's 45, 50, this, that, and the third. Sure. So your daughter gonna go outside and find out from a motherfucker that's less experienced with less game. But in my situation, I'm gonna be bluntly honest with my daughter. She asks me questions, I'm gonna give her dead honest answers. It may be uncomfortable, it may be whatever it is, but all I'm doing is I'm gonna prepare her to the best of her ability when she gets out in this world to make decisions on your own, right? But again, if you go out there, you go against what I said, and go out there and fall on your fucking face, it's going to be consequences for it. That's all I'm saying.
I totally agree, especially to what you said. My husband, when he was having a conversation with our daughter one time, I'm like listening and I'm like, don't say that. And he's just like, no. He said, I'm going to give it to her raw because I will never, ever, she will never, ever say she didn't know. And so
how'd that turn out for her?
Yeah, he was just having this conversation and it was just like, you know, he was like, listen, this is what I would have done, seeing the way that, you know, you're moving. I could see that you're unsure, you're inexperienced. I'm going to take advantage of that. This is what I would tell you. I would tell you all of the things that I know you want to hear. That's going to get you souped up, blah, blah, blah. Then I have you in the stairwell sucking my, you know, and I'm like, whoa, you know, like chill. And he was like, no, he was like, I'm going to tell her, I'm going to give it to her the way it's going to happen. He said, because I've done this already. God's going to tell you X, Y, and Z. Like he laid it out. And
it sounds like you guys are supporting my argument.
No, but really?
I mean, I hear y'all pushing back, but then your talking points is exactly what I'm talking about.
Let me tell you, after all of that conversation, and this wasn't like a one-time conversation. We talked to our kids very openly all along. There's nothing off the table for us. And even after all of that, she goes to college, meets a guy, first like real boyfriend. And he wasn't even in college. And we're like, nah, we meet him. We're like, it ain't right, because we saw all of the game that he already forewarned her about. And guess what? That became her man. And we could not tell her nothing else, even though she knew better. But she had to go through that experience herself. And now it's just like, you know what? Everything y'all said was right. So sometimes you can do the right thing by your kids, but when they get a certain age, that's what part of adulting is. You're intentionally breaking away from some of the stuff that your parents taught you and trying to learn on your own until you find out, like, damn, what my parents said was right.
What's the scripture? Raise a child is something and they'll find it, but they'll always come back. Does anybody know that? What's that scripture? There's a scripture that says, raise a child in the way that they're supposed to go, and then they'll always revert back when they get out into the wilderness.
But they've been taught.
I'm not saying that kids are going to ignore and then stay. The reality is your daughter went to school, she bumped her head, and she came back and said, Mom, I bumped my head. I didn't listen to y'all. I know better now. And the outcome probably became better. I'm not saying Trill's daughter is going to go out and just listen to dad all the way through. She may bump her head too. the odds of everybody's gonna bump their head once. You got to burn yourself to realize fire is hot. We're not gonna just take your word for it, mom. I had to touch the fire to realize it's hot. I'm simply saying the odds are better for the daughters when Trill is around and giving her that game and telling her the consequences if that goes. When that's in the back of people's minds, when you raise them up knowing that, when your husband told her, if he gonna bust you wide open, he gonna clap them cheeks in the car, and this is what's gonna happen, and you clutching your pearls like, oh my God, don't say that. But the husband is like, yo, I'm telling her like it is. And she went to college, she got with the knucklehead that was hanging around the campus, and she maybe lost her virginity, and she came back and said, he broke my heart. I'm listening to you now. The outcomes are going to turn out to be what I'm talking about, you guys.
Yeah, you're right. Because the boyfriend she has now seems to be
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank it. And that's typically the case. Now, here's the thing. 70% of the time, it ain't no daddy even there to have the conversation. So therein lies the crux for what we're talking about. So I get the dude that can manipulate and put the girl on the puppet string. He's looking for the dude that don't have a dad, the girl that don't have a daddy around. He's looking for the girl that's mama's a hardworking mama and she ain't never home no way, and because she's working 2 double shifts. He's looking for her. But when that dad's around, that's almost like a speed bump for knuckleheads. And it's like, okay, next thing you know, it's Bad Boys 2 with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence showing up at the door saying, you taking my daughter out? It's that situation. It's a different, it's a change. And maybe I'm old school.
Well, let me ask you this question, Shannon. How many backs have you blown out and a dad was present? You understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah, a dad can be around, but as a young dude, is not going, if your aim is to get the box, you'll do everything that oh yes, hi sir, how you doing? You'll do all of that, even though you know that the end goal is not that you're trying to make her your girlfriend. You just want to smash. You'll go to do it as long as you get the end result.
I didn't have my first child till age 43. I didn't create a whole lot of baby mamas, right? I was never a pookie. Right. So
no,
I understand. All of my homies was pookies, and I gang banged and I hung out with the pookies. I just never really actually went there. So the ultimate thing is one of the guarantees to poverty is becoming a baby mama and not and out of wedlock. That's one of the guarantees to poverty, right? It's almost, we could talk about numbers. We could talk about the women that made it out and wrote a book and did this well, but the average is it doesn't work for most. And so when we talk about these things, it's not so much, well, how many women did you have sex with, right? In fact, sexual liberation is the new thing. So women is having lots of sex. I simply don't want children out of wedlock. To me, marriage is the goal. I want people to get married. I don't want dudes, but even though I've taken the red pill, it's not. I'm not one of them dudes that's out there saying fuck all women. And no, I love black women. I love women. Men need women. I want men to marry these women, but I also want women to want to be married to the men. So I think marriage is the ultimate goal, but I don't want people out here having babies and having children and bringing on life liabilities that can keep them in poverty until they're 40 something years old. Then they wake up and they want to suddenly go to college again. And so when you ask me, well, how many did you ruin? None, because my child came from my last wife. So
I'm not talking about having babies. I ain't talking about having babies. What I'm talking about is kind of like what you were saying. If the dad's involved, then most likely a man won't play over the female. What I'm saying is the man, the father being present isn't going to block the young guy's end goal. He'll meet the father.
Yes, it will.
No, he'll meet the father, jump through the hoops, do everything that he supposed to, that is going to get him to the goal.
I think that's what you guys believe, but let me tell you something. When these brothers meet Trill in 10 years, they gonna slow their roll. Trust me.
I think what she's saying is, okay, first of all, you got to meet the young man first. A lot of these girls, you're not even meeting the boyfriend.
Mhm.
He's
That's
already
what happened
it's a
before,
thing
yeah.
at school on the cameras at the school, you know. Probably get a phone call that said we caught him, but already
No
taking
facts. It's for real. Y'all have no clue. It
you just
it's
notice
wild in
behavior
school,
has
in high
changed,
school.
and you're wondering why her behavior has changed, but she's not getting your permission when she first meets a guy. She's not.
Mhm. She's already in.
She's already there. He's
As
already
a matter of fact,
dead.
yeah. As a matter of
All
fact, the
right,
only guy
all
that
right,
she gonna
all
bring,
right.
yeah, the only guy that she gonna bring home is the one that she know you gonna like.
Right.
Because again, like women, salute to women. They are young, but they're manipulative as well. Shit, women manipulate their daddies,
Yeah.
right? So as a
How her daddy is. If she know how her daddy is, she ain't
Right.
finna bring home no NBA young boy type. She already know her daddy ain't going.
And if he's good, he probably done persuaded, like, nah, this is not a
But
good
that's a
time.
speed bump. You got like I hear what you guys are saying, and I know we can
No,
go
we
into the
get
next
that,
topic,
but
but that
we
is the speed bump. I'm simply saying slow the car down. If there's no father around, it's a drag
Straight
strip.
shot. Got you.
Yeah. But
Got
I
you.
think
You
I think
guys
the
are like
point,
it's saying, oh, you know what? That speed bump ain't gonna slow those cars. Those speed bumps slow cars down.
no.
They are
I think
effective.
the point that we're making is that regardless if there's a father in the household or not, if she doesn't choose to bring that boy home to meet her dad, she's not gonna do it.
Facts.
Okay. All right. I think
Shannon, is your child a
Shannon doesn't
daughter
have
or-
any daughters.
no, he has a child. Oh, son. Okay.
I got sons. Yeah.
Well,
Jesus, God knew. He's like, let me get his boy.
Or you gotta train your boys, train your boys right, bring them up right. So let me so Shan actually hit on my next question for the men, because my question was, if women want marriage, what benefit is it for a man to marry a woman? And I know that you did hit on those benefits of marrying from a male's perspective. My question to the women is, I know you want marriage, but why are you so if men don't want marriage, because it's the opposite, because a lot of men don't want marriage because they got you in these situationships, what benefit is it for you to stay with that man? Because we were talking about these women being in these long-term relationships that are not ending in marriage, and you're sitting there for 2 or 3 years. My question is, what are you getting out of that? Don't everybody ask that question at once.
Wait, you
Can you
at the beginning, right?
clarify the question again?
Okay, so the question is, let me put this. So we were talking about being in a relationship for too long. Some women are in relationships for way too long. Okay, and they're in according to stats, a great deal of women are not marrying. So my question is, what is the benefit in being in a relationship without marriage for a woman?
companionship.
Well, I
Most
think
women want it.
you're directing that at the men, though, right? Isn't that what you?
What you said?
My question for the men,
for
opposite,
women.
they don't want the marriage. So I asked them for us to talk about the benefits. But now I want to talk about women, and it's going to be the opposite, because we know the benefits of marriage. We know women want to be married. So my question is, if you know that you want to be married, what are you getting out of not being married? Why are you staying in these relationships for way too long? You understand what I'm saying?
But I think
it's a
women
hope.
are getting the same thing though. Like some women are still getting the provision, they're still getting the companionship, they're getting the house and the cars, the protection, and all of that. They just
the name
don't
isn't
have
signed on a
it.
paper.
Right. It's just not on paper.
Well, I
So
mean, obviously, in the most ideal situation, to CC's point, the woman is getting the provision. She's getting the protection. She's, getting the leadership. She's getting the devotion. She's getting that from her man. And so, whether they're married or not. So, that would be the benefit of her staying. So obviously, if she wasn't getting any of those, she would probably more than likely leave, I would think. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of women out there that don't leave, but for women that are staying in those kinds of scenarios where it is beneficial to them, I mean, it makes sense.
I think they stay in the hopes of it leading to the marriage. Because at the end of the day, in terms of the security, staying in the long-term aspect without having security is no benefit at all. Even if you are getting some time or getting, access to certain things, at the end of the day, there's no security in that.
In terms of what's your definition of security?
I would say security that I think a marriage provides. I think a marriage provides a different level of security than just being in a relationship, like as the girlfriend, boyfriend.
I think I mean, are you speaking more on the financial side? Because you don't have to be married to get life insurance policies on each other. And if he die and I'm still the girlfriend, I mean, I got access. I'm the beneficiary. I get access.
You also don't need life insurance to get that money either. All you need is a will. So I mean, I'm just asking, like, what is the specific security that you're referencing?
Well, when you're married, it's safer. It's safer to be with somebody than to be all by yourself. Marriage lowers the risk that men and women will be victims of violence. Period. That's just one benefit. That's a huge benefit, especially depending on what demographic of America you live in. Knowing that there's a man in the house lowers the risk of somebody breaking in. Period.
But you can have a man in the house.
But we're talking about a woman that has a man, and we're talking about a woman.
We didn't specify
break up.
A lot of people are not in the house with the man they're dating.
That's not true.
I said a lot of people are not in the house with the man that they're dating.
Okay, we're talking about a woman that is with a man and who has been with a man for years and they're not married, which is a very different scenario than a woman that's just dating a man.
The reason why is because when you are not married, he could wake up one day and be gone. This whole common law, we've been living together. There's no such thing as common law. It only works in 5 states out of 50, right? LA, there's no. You've been living here 7 years, so now I'm your wife. That doesn't work. That's a trope. So the fact that a marriage almost helps create a legal obligation, whether you like it or not, for a guy to be there, as opposed to waking up one day and saying, "I'm out."
I want a 20-year-old.
It's not that we're refuting that. The question was, what's the benefits if you're not married? So we're focusing on the people who are not married and why they stick around.
You guys are asking what's the benefit of not getting married?
No, Shan, you're at this. So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to understand, what are you thinking to not want to marry a man who you're deciding to live with, knowing that you're going to age? If these men are telling you your value lowers when you get older, and you're allowing this man to just take up all your young years, and one day, he, just like Shan says, he can wake up and say, you know what? I don't like you no more. I mean, he's protecting himself.
There isn't no benefit.
He's protecting his assets from you because he don't want to marry you because he wants to protect his assets. That alone is a red flag.
You know who that's sold to? That's sold to Black women.
Right.
That's not sold to.
No one is
that is not sold to Asian women.
No one is not sold to Hispanic. Not a good idea, Shannon. Like, no one on this panel is sitting here saying, "Yes, choose living." I got you. I got you now. And I think what I got you.
We're asking the single women, what's the benefit of staying single?
Right? Because is it really?
I got you. For the women that think that there's a benefit to staying single, there isn't one.
Right. We're trying to dig
not
deep.
In America.
I would say there's a difference. There's a difference between a rental and ownership. Like, I think so you're going to take care of I hate comparing it to a car, but you're going to take care of what you own a lot better than a
what you renting.
Right. And so for me, that's why I say there's a level of security. And I know Shannon and I, we had talked about this before, in terms of how the level of relationship, and this is just my opinion, the level of relationship determines the level of commitment. So when you're in that rental, you're there for the time.
Up the wheels, you might not wash it.
You're rocking that, you looking good
inside, spilling the drink on the seat.
Yeah. But at the end of the day,
we're all in agreement that marriage has better benefits. We're all in agreement that the question was, for the people who are, what are the benefits of sticking around? Like, we get marriage is the goal. Marriage, there's more security. Marriage is better than being in a relationship with someone that you're just living in a house with. The question though was, and Shannon, you answered the question, but let's not get to the comparison of marriage versus not marriage, because that wasn't the question.
So I don't think there is a benefit.
Why are women sticking around so long, and what are the benefits of doing that?
Because it's been sold.
Yeah, there obviously is a benefit. There are benefits. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And some people
What's
are
one?
happy.
Give me three.
Some people are happy.
I mean, I said them all. I said provision, protection, devotion, safety, leadership. I mean, yeah, there are benefits. Obviously, you don't have the legality part behind it, but we can't say that there are no benefits. I mean, we would be remiss to say that there are zero benefits to a relationship that doesn't have any formal or legal standpoint to it. That
because we can't say that the people that have been with somebody for 10 plus years, that they're just completely unhappy in that situation. They're staying for a reason. Now, what that reason is, we're not exactly sure. But I think the majority of people, nobody wants to start over. I personally know some people that's in some not so good situations, but it's like, I don't want to start over. And I'm like, well, shit, if you like it, I love it. Like, that's you, but people don't want to start over. I mean,
so the women, you guys do a lot of stuff on possibilities, whereas men do a lot of stuff on probabilities. We do numbers. And so and what's being sold is the possibility of him staying for 10 years. And then the possibility that he's going to love you forever. The possibility that this is going to work out for you.
I ain't staying nowhere for 10
years. I mean, I think 10 years is
extreme.
No one is telling that extreme. No one is telling that extreme on this channel. Let's clarify that also.
I'm not doing that shit.
The probability of that happening
it's just not. Yeah.
Tell you what, man, the benefit of being in a relationship in terms of the woman, from the woman's perspective, is the same benefit that the man get from stringing your ass along at the end of the day. You get to enjoy all of the benefits of being with me, but you have a get out of jail free card in your pocket. So when shit gets uncomfortable, I can go. I got the option to go, right? Marriage is, you got to go to court. It's money got to be paid. It's, shit got to be like, it's way more complicated than just like Shan said, waking up, look, man, I'm out, I'm gone. But, but at the same time, you get to have, just like Della said, everything in terms of benefit. Because let's just be honest here. If you're in a relationship with somebody for that long, as a man, you see her like your wife. If we're going to be like, if we are official item, I'm not talking about a chick you just been smashing for 10. She pull up, do whatever. I'm talking about somebody that you actively live with, take out, go on dates, go on trips, all type of shit like that, like a real relationship. She's getting all of the benefits. As a man, you're not holding back benefits from her. She's getting everything.
Or even living together. You're in a relationship and living together. Like, I was getting all those benefits. And I know, some of y'all on the panel like to give me a hard time about that situation. But trust and believe, I wasn't doing wifely duties for a man that wasn't also doing husband duties. That was not the case. So I think you have to be aware of your situation. If you're putting all of this into it and you're not getting any results, like, what you doing? It needs to be a conversation that needs to be had. But let's be honest, people aren't in these situations for years and they just unhappy. Should marriage ultimately be the goal? Absolutely. No one on this panel is denying that. But there are people that are content and happy in relationships without that marriage certificate.
We're being life partners. I think Shan touched on it earlier. It depends on the couple and it depends on the situation.
I know many life partner situations.
Okay.
I know the two that I told you about, and they don't live with them men, and they've been with them for 5 years. But let me just say, exactly. So I wanted to make sure we hit on both sides, because not everybody is partnered up in shacking. You understand what I'm saying? There are some women who are in these long-term relationships, and they're not getting that.
So you have conversations with them about why they're.
I can't speak to.
Yeah. So my question is, my next question it's gonna go back to what you guys are saying. So are you guys saying that in a relationship, in a dating relationship, you should have access to provision? You should have access to security. You should have access to all of these things if you're in a relationship with somebody, not marriage, but in a relationship.
I
If
think it
you're with the
depends on
right
the stages of your relationship. Obviously, to your point, you have friends that aren't, they've been messing around. They don't even live together. I mean, I wouldn't even consider that like a real, I'm not going to say real because I don't want to minimize someone's situation. At the same time, when you think about, dating with the intent or, having a fiance, having a wife, y'all are under the same roof. You know what I mean? So there are stages and levels to your relationship. And so, you reserve certain aspects of the relationship for the next stage. And so, when we talk about, I'm sorry, I just went blank. Somebody else can go. It'll come back.
I was going to say, when you reserve it for the next stage, once you've moved in with each other and you're living like you're already at that that next stage.
I agree.
So,
feel
but,
like
but what happens, we move in, a lot of times the move in ends up turning into a cohabitation in relationship and doesn't necessarily end in the end goal. Because if everybody needs are being met in that situation, like Trill said, you got the get out of jail free card in your back pocket. What would be the motivating factor for me to take that final step if all of my needs are being met at this level?
I feel like before it even gets to that point, there should be some level of conversation about where the relationship is going. If you two want marriage, you should not be moving in with nobody, and there hasn't been an understanding of where that relationship is going. But I personally feel like that before you marry somebody, you should live with them first, because people are different when you live with them. You need to understand if you can mesh together in one space and still be able to have a relationship after you do that. So, but that's my opinion. But I think there should be a level of understanding about the relationship, where you see the relationship going in X amount of time. Do you want marriage? You shouldn't be, unless that is something that you two agreed upon that you do not want. I personally feel like those are conversations that should be had up front before you get to the point of moving in. I'm moving in with you, and now we figuring out that I want to get married and you don't. What? That don't even make sense.
So I
I
guess
agree.
the question is, what does that look like? Is that joint accounts? Is that,
I think it depends on what it works. Me and my last relationship, when we lived, we didn't have joint accounts. We didn't. But I know some people that before they got married, when they moved in together, they did have joint accounts. I think you just need to figure out what works best for your relationship. There is no set standard. You do what works best for you and your relationship and what you and your partner agree upon. So at that point, when we were boyfriend and girlfriend living together, there was no joint accounts. We paid all the bills. We said once we got married, we were going to have a joint savings account, but that was it. My money was still my money. His money was still his money, but there was still access to it because he was paying all the bills. So what did I specifically, if I'm still working, what did I necessarily need access to his money for? And he's paying all the bills, and my money is still my money.
Well, I just think what you were saying in terms of standards, I think that's part of the problem in general situation when I'm talking about when we don't set the standard for marriage, but we are okay with moving in with somebody. So you say, yeah, you have that conversation ahead of time. But my thing is that I think if the standard was we can move in with each other after we're engaged, because typically engagement is a year, so that year of planning. So you make sure that your standard is we've talked about marriage, we said that this is where we want it to go, and the next step is moving in with each other. But for me, as a standard, before I take that leap, I want to be in a position of fiance, and then that will be your standard. Once that happens, yeah, you move in and y'all are planning for the wedding to come within that year. And that gives you that time to say, can I live with this person or not, or what have you? And then if it becomes to a point where you guys decide, you know what, let's go our separate ways, you're good. but I just don't understand. I know we've moved away from tradition in the sense of it's so acceptable, and I'm guilty of it too because I moved in with my husband before we got married. I mean, we did the whole
All
thing.
that to say that.
Yeah,
So you're
we
saying,
did the whole thing all out of order. We had
oh,
baby first. No, we moved in first. That was when my mom said, "Don't
I
move in."
thought you was fighting against it. Turn around and say, "Well, I did it too,
yeah,
though."
no.
You basically
No,
said, "Well, I don't know about all that, but I did it too, though."
no, look, no, look. My
He
mom,
is
And
my
like,
look
mom
how she
said,
turned out, Shan. So
look, my mom said, "Don't move in with him. You're gonna end up pregnant." My response was, "Well, we've been dating for 3 years. I never ended up pregnant." She said, "When you move in with each other, you're gonna end up pregnant."
and what
And
happened?
moved in with each other. In I think we was 2, 3 months. I was pregnant. We dealt with each other for 3 years. In 3 months,
Mm,
it was a wrap.
yeah, you don't pull out when y'all live together.
And then so I know I did it out of order, but I wasn't taught to do that. I went against my own teaching. But
My question
but
to you, Miss Taken, is why is it that what two people decide what's best for their relationship, why is that considered not the standard for them, but yet and still your standard of at least be engaged before you move in? I think if two people have an understanding and if they both want marriage and that's the ultimate goal, you can't sit up here and say that the way they're doing it is wrong. That's what works
Well,
best.
because we look
I'm
at
looking at
because
the
that's where
stats.
numbers
The
come in,
stats,
though,
the
Tim.
numbers say it. I'm not
The
saying
numbers. We want to always ignore these statistics, but we can't do that because if without those, we wouldn't know which way to go. So it's
the stats
it's
say
like how do you
that
define
if you
what me
move
and him
in with
got going on? If what works for us works for us, because the other 90 people that did it before you, it didn't work. And if you think that you're going to be that 1 out of 10 that's going to make it successful, then fine. That's why I talk about possibilities versus probabilities. Women love to go on possibilities. The probability of it not working for you, we just want to let you know you might not want to do that. I know you think you special. I know you think you the only right thing in a wrong world, but the odds are against you. And so we have to look at numbers when we make these statements. And if the numbers go
the
against it,
stats
then we
say
just got to
when you
listen to it.
shack up, the less likelihood you're going to end up married.
I can
That's
only
what the
speak
stats say.
for experience, and I have spoke about this many times. I'm not gonna keep speaking
Well,
about
we
it.
speak in general. We're not just saying you.
But I'm saying for me, it was different. Like there was an engagement coming. Like unfortunately, the relationship ended because of something personal that I will not disclose on this platform. But that wasn't my case. So I'm not gonna tell somebody else that the way they're doing it is the wrong way because as you just said, you did it completely backwards and look how it worked out for you.
I'm an anomaly. I'm an
I don't
anomaly
think
in that sense
she's
when
saying
I'm looking at the stats.
I
I'm
don't
not
think she's saying that it's the wrong way. It's
right.
just not necessarily what's proven to work the
Thank you,
majority of the time.
Tina.
And so it's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's just, you're just going to take your chances with whatever choice that you decide
I
to make.
mean, having sex without a condom is not necessarily wrong.
Right.
But what
And you're
is
not guaranteed to get pregnant, but the probability is much higher if you do.
Well, what would you be expecting if you're not having sex without a condom?
Right, and it's the same thing with moving in early, So like it's just like one of those things where when you have access to the information, obviously when you're in the position and you don't have the access to the knowledge, you end up moving through life, ignorantly. But when you have access to the knowledge and you know better, you want to apply it to do better, to have a better probability of receiving better on the opposite end. So, at the end of the day, I think some of us on here would probably say if we had the opportunity to do it over again, we would do things differently.
I mean, I would still move accordingly to what works best for me and that person what we decide on. That's
Okay.
true.
And I think most women do. Move on their feelings.
No, I'm saying, but for me, yes, marriage is the ultimate goal. So I don't think anybody should be just immediately just moving in with somebody and there hasn't been some level of understanding about where you want that relationship to go. You got to have a conversation.
Okay.
And for me, if because my intention is not to make anybody feel like I'm being judgmental, because that's not what it is. What I'm saying is kind of like what Della was saying is when you know better, do better. So just like I would tell when I have conversations with my kids, I'm telling them from experiences where I messed up, or my husband saying the same thing where he messed up, and we want better for you. We don't want you to go through the things that we went through when it could be avoided. That's really what it is. So if for me, when I look at the stats, and if I'm talking to somebody that I consider to be in my circle, or somebody that I care about, or just in general, that the odds are against you if you move this way, I think I should share that information. Now at that point, everybody being adults, you take that with a grain of salt, and you move how you move, just like I did. My mom, like I said, she told me not to move and you're going to end up pregnant. And my rationale, I'm like, yo, I was dealing with this dude for 3 years. We never end up pregnant. Moving in with him isn't going to change that. That was my rationale. And she knew. She was like, well, it's different when you live with each other. I'm like, how? We spend time with each other every day. But it's different when you move in with each other. And she was right. I was wrong, and I had to catch that L and learn from it. Luckily, things turned out right, but I definitely know that that's not the norm, because I can name a few other friends, or people that I do know that it didn't work out the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I just read this article, or not just read, but I just found this article done by the University of Texas where it said that research found that couples who cohabitated before marriage had a 33% higher chance of divorce, which kind of
Really?
makes me.
Yeah, I could probably see that. You would wait.
You
So
share
people
that
that
in the
got
chat so you can read
the
it.
study is saying people that moved in together before they got married got divorced faster.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, could you share that
Yeah,
article?
They didn't like living with each other.
Because people don't be knowing each other until you live with them, and then you realize they're like, I
You
don't
know
like
what? You know what? I bet is the reason why is because they got locked in and they said, "Fuck it, might as well go ahead." And you got that. You get that might as well go ahead attitude. We get married and then you can't tolerate. Whereas if they would have never moved in to begin with, they would have been like, I'm good, you good. And then especially when you get 50-50 with it, and he's like, well, shit, I might as well get married. Hell, I can't afford to get a place on my own. No way, I need you. And so they get married and then they ended up hating each other and getting a divorce. I could kind of see that.
That right there is the main reason people move
So-
in with each other. It's because of just financial hardship. We're gonna keep it honest. It ain't even like, okay, this is the next trajectory of our relationship. We're gonna move in. It ain't that. It's man, my lease ran out. You over here every day anyway. So I mean, we might as well just fuck it. Let's just do it. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying?
And then they get
rent,
divorced because they should have
again,
never
rent
did that.
mortgage is not okay.
Yeah.
I need a
Exactly.
So that
roommate.
car
man.
note, that car
So-
note insurance.
Right. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think you definitely gotta save something for marriage. I honestly feel that way. And it's because it's anything else. Like I could love apple pie, right? But if I have it 1,000 times, I'm gonna love it a little bit less every time I eat it. That's just what it is. It's still good. It doesn't change how good it is, but it's just I done got used to it. So I think in that scenario is very similar, right? You meet somebody. I know people that moved in 8-9 months after knowing somebody. It's just like, fam, what are you doing? But again, like I said, well, she over here anyway, so it don't matter, whatever. We just gonna do what we gonna do. And more times than not, those situations crash and burn. You got to save something for marriage. In my opinion, things like houses, putting names on mortgages. More importantly, children. Save something for marriage. You got people out here again that's knowing somebody 8-9 months and they pregnant, and y'all living together, and it ain't been no wedding talk, no ring talk in sight. And it's just, okay, well, that's just my person. We gonna figure it out. But the likelihood of you figuring it out is very low, and so, compared to the likelihood of that shit crashing and burning, and you creating another broken home for a kid, and again keeping the same problem that we have as a community in rotation. So I think that right there needs to be taught more. And again, I understand what Tam is saying. Everybody situation is, different or whatever. But in terms of like tutelage that I'm gonna give somebody, just like I tell people all the time, me and my old lady been knowing each other since 8th grade, but do not use my situation as a blueprint.
Right.
Don't, because it took me bumping my head a million times to get to where I am today. I wasn't this calm and reserved and just, just a good stand-up guy when I was younger. That's just honest. I was not. I was still running the streets. I love my neighborhood. I love all that. You know what I'm saying? So I would have been a horrible leader back then, right? But going by people say, oh yeah, you get married early, the likelihood of it, yeah, likelihood would have been if I got married earlier, we'd be divorced right now. Right. So, but again, I got lucky. I'm an anomaly. I'm not gonna sit here and say just because I did it, hey, go do it. It's gonna work. It's just like a drug dealer that was been selling drugs 15 years, and because he didn't go to jail once. Oh yeah, but yeah, y'all can do it. Go ahead and sell drugs, bro. It's a good chance to that you may not get caught. Nah, if I made it 15 years and I ain't get caught, I'm telling niggas don't do that, man. Go the other way. I was lucky, but again, the other 9 homeboys I got is doing 20 years right now in jail.
But Trill, you just use yourself as an example of the guy that should marry the girl young. You literally said, well, but me, I was you talking about the prospects and the future and all that. Usually I worked at this place where, I was at the boiler room or something like that. And I had the NFL prospect. So which one? So would you recommend you to marry your own daughter?
I don't think he's about marrying your daughter off at 21, though. I think he was just dating her. He doesn't want to marry her at 21.
Right. So I mean, my 21-year-old self had a lot of potential. Sure. I mean, again, but in terms of marriage, no, I was not ready. In my opinion, I feel like a sweet spot for marriage is about 25 to 29, somewhere in that range. But in terms of like a 21, 20-year-old motherfucker getting married, again, that's why I say don't use my but even me, I didn't get married till I was 27 because I had to bump my head to get to who I am today, right? But I wouldn't recommend you bumping your head on your wife's watch, right? Because that could be detrimental. Like I said, y'all married, it's a good likelihood y'all gonna have kids, and now you dragging her through the mud, ruining her, and then on the back end, you setting a terrible example for your kid in terms of what they watch.
So you've been married for 5, but you've been together for 14.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. Because again, like I said, I've been knowing her since 8th grade.
8th grade. Before
right. But in terms of like when we hooked up, we was in college already.
Gotcha.
I have a question for the group in terms of marriage and moving in. My question is, if you move in and you break up, because Tam, I think you had said where sometimes you need to live with a person to really see how they are. So I guess my question is, if you move in and that moving in causes you to break up, and not your situation, I'm just using it as a generic, causes you to break up, then were you really ready for marriage anyway? Because
I only speak based off my situation, and us moving in together wasn't the reason we broke up.
No, that's why I said not
that's
to
why
you.
she moved it from you.
A general
I can't
question.
answer that then.
I'm saying a general question because I look at generations before, like my parents or what have you. They never lived with each other. You know what I'm saying? And they moved in, and part of that marriage aspect is learning how to work stuff out. And so when you move in with each other, I think that is probably the first test of a marriage and how you guys are going to learn how to operate within each other's differences. So I'm thinking if you move in and you are annoyed by however, this person is that sloppy, oh, he don't put the seat down, and that causes you to break up, then were you really ready to be married anyway?
Well, I think if you're in a situation like that and it's that easy for you to walk away just because of whatever disagreements that you guys have when you moved in, no, you weren't ready to be married because and you probably didn't really love them. Because if you did, how are you it's that easy for you to just up and leave and walk away? Like people got to be able to deal with conflict and handle conflict. Like, no, if you can't handle disagreements after you done moved in, you're not ready to be married. Because you should be able to just give up on a relationship that easy if you truly love somebody and marriage is the ultimate goal and that's who you want to be with. Why is it that easy to just be like, yeah, hindsight, it is easy because there are no ties. If there are no children, there's no marriage involved. Yes, you can. But why would you, if this is the person that you want to be with and you see a future with, and there's marriage on the table? Why is it easy for you to walk away? No, you're not ready to be married.
But see again, wait. Because moving in with somebody, man, it's totally different than dates. See, this is what I tell people all the time. Like, you could date somebody, y'all not living together. They got prep time. So every time you go over there, I can clean up this crib and I can make shit look away. Oh yeah, he's a clean guy. He's very put together. This and that. Yeah, that's because he has prep time. But when you live with somebody, there's no prep time, right? So even a lot of what y'all talking about, it may seem trivial. But again, depending on like how I like to live, and like I don't want my house dirty. So if I'm living with you again and you got prep time and I'm coming over there, I'm thinking that you clean, and then we move in together and your ass is dirty as hell. No, I don't want to marry you. Yes, that could end the relationship. Or just certain habits and different things like that. So yeah, sometimes it takes moving in. But again, if I'm giving advice, I would do what Miss Taken said in terms of waiting to engagement. I agree with that. But yeah, hell yeah, you should definitely live with somebody before you marry them.
I would have to disagree with the prep time, just for the simple fact that you're not giving. So I do understand what you're saying, Trill, to a certain extent. My point is that you have to give people enough time to show you who they really are. Going to somebody's house 3 or 4 times, yeah, it's going to be clean as hell. Going to somebody's house for the 15th, 16th, 17th time, I promise you it's not going to look the way it did the first 3 or 4 times. It's just not. Science has proven that people cannot hold these facades on average for more than 4 to 6 months. So if you're moving in with people before the first year, I mean, at that point, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So a lot of these times we talk about these kinds of scenarios where the average person hasn't even given the other person the opportunity to truly reveal themselves. And so then you're just going off of a few weeks, a few months, short notice. And it's like, okay, this is who they really are. And it's like, no.
I got a question. Because in terms of that, you're right. But let's talk about money management, right? Something we all feel is very prevalent, very important to a relationship. No,
Yes.
but again, if we're not living together and your name's not on my bills, and you don't necessarily know how I spend my money, but every time we go out, sure, I can cover the bill or whatever. Or when we taking trips again, because I have prep time for these things, right? I can make it seem like okay. I mean, he's pretty good with money, probably, or whatever. But then when we get our name on bills and we get to living together and we get that joint account, and you see me pulling shit out of there that's not in the budget, and wait a minute, you gambling a lot and shit. Wait a minute, that's my money that you put. So again, a lot of that stuff you cannot tell, and you can hide that because you don't have no idea how I'm spending my money. It's my money. We ain't got the same account. But again, when I'm living with you, it's natural progression. We're gonna have our name on the same bills, so you can kind of monitor it like that. So that's another example of what I mean by that's something that can break a relationship, right? But I didn't know that your ass was horrible with money until we started living together, right? Because again, you had money for dinner, you had the money for the trip, you had the money for ordering DoorDash when you come by the crib, right? But your name wasn't on my account, so you didn't necessarily get to see how it was spent. But when your name gets on the account and you see me going crazy with it, like, what don't y'all think that would be enough to walk away?
I guess I can dispute that a little bit as well, because at some point, I think you would have a conversation with the individual and you would roughly know about how much this person makes. And you can probably see by where they can afford to be approved to live at, the quality of their life. And now I'm assessing. So we're going out. I know that you make this amount every single year. And every single time we go out, you spending money like you a bank. You know what I mean?
Are you asking to borrow, $10 here and there in between?
Yeah. And so these kinds of patterns are revealed in time. And not to mention I think it's important. When it comes to finances and bank accounts, that's for a whole other kind of conversation. But yeah, I feel like these these kinds of patterns of behavior are revealed in time. The problem is that most people move so fast. They're not even, we're having a really great conversation. Most people aren't even thinking about these kinds of questions and these kinds of scenarios to even have their eyes open to the fact that your man is a school teacher, and every single time y'all go out, he's spending $300-$400 when y'all going out, and it's just not adding up. You don't have a side hustle. You don't have anything else going on. I can average about how much you making every single month. You're irresponsible. And so,
sorry, and I was going to say, usually those people, and you hear it all the time, like she started asking me for money after 3 months, or she's asking me, or he asking me for $20. Like, what you need $20?
I'm gonna send it right back.
Right, and literally they start revealing themselves early. And like Della said, you can observe, like, based on where they live. For example, if you're renting something, you gotta make 3 times the rent. Gross income. So that means you already know their check around about what they make. So there's ways about, and also if you're going to be with somebody, you're going to be having financial conversations. I am not about to be delving into nothing serious with nobody that I can't talk about finances with. Like, you can't fake that much. Like, how much debt are you in? What's your credit score? All of these things should have some type of documentation behind it. I'm not about to be like, taking your word for something because you presented yourself a certain way.
You go on vacation and you can't put the rental car in a credit card. What's the limit?
Baby, and then you got to put on a debit, and can your debit card cover that $500?
These kinds of they reveal themselves in time. People just don't give enough time for it to reveal themselves. So then they get themselves in sticky situations. Now y'all are intimate. Now you got feelings involved. Now you don't want to walk away because you like them. You had sex. It's just like,
people aren't vetting either. So although yes, people can show up with their representative, and with time, eventually that representative can only be present for so long. But I also think people aren't vetting properly. Like, people aren't asking the right questions in the beginning. So you got to be intentional with your dating. Like, I knew exactly what my ex made. Like,
but see, I also feel like y'all leaving out the fact.
It's the behavior. It's not even the questions, because people tell you what they want you to hear, what they think you want to know. It's observing the behavior, and the behavior always reveals itself. It always reveals the truth in time.
But see, I think, man, that we for one, we're leaving out the fact that people lie, right?
Yep.
And for two, we are spending a lot of the conversation based on what people make, but y'all know just as well as I do, it's not about the income, it's about the expenses, right? So again, just like I said, you can have I know niggas that's making over 6 figures, way over, and still living check to check, right? Because now I'm making over 6 figures, so I can afford to go live in this high ass condo. I can afford to go get this car, sure, but it's tight. You know what I'm saying, on the back end. But because I make so much money, I do have enough to be able to, like I said, cover us going out to Mastros. I got enough to cover that little $2,000 for us to go on this trip, or $3,000 for us to go on this trip, right? So as a woman, you're not looking at my financial records as somebody that I'm just dating. That's just not going to happen, right? But again, if I'm making a legitimate amount of money, I can finesse it to where you don't know no difference in terms of like, oh, he's that bad, but my debt, this, that, and the third. I can lie. What you're not going up to check my credit score as somebody I'm dating?
Right.
You're not married, you're not my wife. You would not be privy to that information. So what I'm saying is,
that's my point. Unless she's your wife. So even if y'all are living together, she's still not your wife. So she doesn't have access to that information. So regardless, she still doesn't really know.
But she does, because we living together.
Yeah, but you're living together. But a lot of people that live together don't share joint finances. You know what I'm saying? They just, like, when we talk about the average individual, they just don't. And even you just said, like, unless you're my wife, I'm not giving you access to that information. But y'all are shacked up, but this isn't your wife. So go ahead.
Look, this is what I'm saying, right? So again, we talk about likelihood and probability a lot, right?
Right.
So probability and likelihood of you seeing my male when we're living together is very high, right? Compared to if you don't live with me And then, like I said, I have prep time. I can finesse these things. But if we living together, you could potentially see what I have in my account and what I'm spending and everything, because my credit card statement comes to my house every month. So
You know
again, you
women
living
too,
with
right?
me is going to increase the probability of y'all nosy asses. Let's call this what it is. Women are nosy as hell. Right?
Exactly.
So the
And also
probability and the
paperless.
likelihood of you knowing what it is that I'm making is extraordinarily higher when you
Yep.
living with me compared to the opposite way around.
If I'm
That's all I'm
spending the
saying.
night,
A lot of room to
the
finesse.
night on a regular, I don't have to live with you. If I'm spending the night with you we've been dating for a while, like, you know, we're in year 1 or 2, more than likely we've spent several nights together at a time. You know what I'm saying? Women gonna snoop. We nosy. Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm
Women-
nosy.
Women are
First
not.
time my
You
boyfriend,
speaking for all y'all, but continue.
If you
yeah,
smart.
I was
We,
gonna
we
say,
opened that letter a long time ago.
If
the
I'm
first
there,
time that
Don't
I
go
stayed
paperless.
with
Stop
my,
playing
the first
games.
time that he left me alone at his house, he had to go to work. I'm under the bed. I'm in
Yes.
the closet. I'm looking for everything. His cousin called, was like, you know, asked was he there, and I was like, nah, he's not there. He was like, what you doing? I was like, oh, just watching. He was like, oh, you looking through all that stuff that's at the house? I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. As I'm putting everything away.
Like, we gotta pull up or something.
So nobody knows about paperless. So nobody's
Yeah,
paperless.
so I'm
That's
I'm
good.
completely paperless.
women,
I know,
women,
right? So
I have
women are going to take the time to find out the information that they want to know, whether you are sharing it, just freely.
Everything. They look at what kind of peanut butter you buy. You get the generic or you get Jiffy. They look
Yeah,
at,
we're going to
they
pay
pay
attention.
attention to the water you buy.
in
They looking at,
2022.
are you buying movies? They want to women can gauge by the subscriptions that you have on Netflix.
are you
Do
buying
you have
iPhones?
all of the services or just one of them? Do you complain a little bit?
We taking
Y'all-
screenshots. We
And
seeing
then also what people what
like there's listen, I knew what was in the Robinhood account, the investments account, everything. Like that's why I'm like, it all depends on the type of person you dealing with, and it all
Right.
depends
What's his
on
shoe
the type of
collection
person
look
you
like?
are.
and we're
How many
also not
drawers
being
do he
honest
have?
in terms of how long people are able to maintain this facade. Like people that are financially irresponsible, you're not able, like, okay,
It don't last long. You right.
you just took her out on this lavish ass trip. Honey, she's expecting every single trip after that to be the bare minimum. So you just took her out on to the St. Regis, and now you got her at the Motel 6 because your funds are out. Like at some point, it's revealed in time, and I can't say it enough that people just don't give the experience enough time for the truth to actually be revealed. And then you start building these kinds of attachments to certain expectations. Now you're living in fantasy land, and both of y'all are super delusional.
You got to get to know people, and I think that's probably the source of the problem. People aren't taking the time to get to know each other before they're just jumping into situationships, relationships, all of that.
You
And
know
we
what's
gotta
so
be trying
funny?
to ask more questions.
Mistaken and I just saw a video. Do you want to explain the video? Because I don't have it on here, but the lady with the red, because it kind of goes with the lady with the red who was saying you put up this
The mask.
Heard earlier.
Yeah.
and she was
She had gave the analogy about what happens is people put up a mask, and she said, say like the mask is the color red, but what you really need is, the color lilac.
so
But
she,
the
so
way the way that you present yourself to the world is going to look one way, and they're going to see the red. But the people that you need to attract, which is also lilac, is not gonna, they're just gonna go right past you because you're putting up a different facade. And they see red, which is in the match, and then your needs are gonna not be met because you keep attracting red people. So, I mean, so she just likened that in terms of where we keep finding ourselves in situations with people who that we're not compatible with because we're not clear on what it is that we need. So we're putting out certain energy that's going to attract the wrong person. So it was good.
Which brings me. Did anybody else have anything? Because I was going to
No,
go.
I think we got super
We
chat.
got super chats and we got to get them
Okay.
likes up and we got to.
Okay, get the likes up, you guys. We're gonna go through the switch. I wanted to piggyback. The reason why I wanted to go into
Don't do that.
she just brought us into the next question from that her statement. So, all right, so go ahead and read that for us.
Rebellious videos for $2. Happy belated, CC. Looking good.
Happy birthday.
Well, pause. What birthday? My birthday was Juneteenth.
Oh, I think they thought you was out of town, so you was out of town for your birthday. Happy birthday, girl.
Yeah, happy birthday to me. I was like, I was out of town. I didn't need to. I went to Shannon City.
Oh, fun. Okay, rebellious videos, $2 again. We want an empty sack and a full belly. We're easy.
Oh, damn.
Okay, then. Thank you. Congo for $10. Concurred, Trilla. Hello, Congo. Jason C for $5. Salute to the panel for having another great night. Friday show. Get the likes up. Yes, get the likes up. We appreciate you. Is that smooth? I don't know. $20. Facts. I was one of them.
Shout out to bro.
Shout out to bro. Mr. Radeyu, maybe $1.99. What if he's a good man, bro? What if? Smub again for $5. Teach your kids there's a big difference between your principles and your preferences. Never let preferences outweigh your principles.
Facts.
Praise be. El Profesor for $4.99. Proverbs 22:6. Is that how they say it?
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 22:6, honey. Train a boy in the way he should go. Even when he grows old, he will not depart from it. There you go, Shannon.
Yeah, that's what Shannon.
Catherine Forbes, $5. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for discussing this important topic. I'm enjoying the conversation. Thank you, Queen. Congo again for $10. Mistaken. I get you, but don't be so biased for women. Seek a middle ground. Rebellious for $2. With rent this high, cohabitation is appealing.
Facts.
Oh, well.
Facts.
Miss Parker for $1.99. Hey, Shar, support grown folks convo. Hit the likes. Hit the likes. Rebellious videos, $2. Della looking like a rich aunt, a part of a book club. What club, though?
You look so studious, Stella.
Harrison Davis for $10. You know why I'm here. Hashtag
Thank
salute.
you, Harrison, for all the support.
Jason C for $10. People love options, and making commitment effectively removes those options. And they like to live with technicalities, gray area, to a usage their guilt in case they want to leave for no reason. Rich T for $5. I'm not going to lie. It's a lit funny that the demographic with the highest amount of debt is shaming frugality. Come on now. The pot calling. Never mind.
We kettle black. But we did?
No, I don't think we did. Did we? I'm mistaken.
Did we shame?
No, I was going to say, I think he was just speaking in general terms.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. I can see it. Rich T, $5 again. Great show, people. Tim, you still recovering from that body bag you witnessed yesterday?
Yeah, Thursday show was wild. Thursday was definitely wild. Shout out to Lapeep. Let's talk Thursday. That was quite interesting.
Y'all were definitely talking.
Listen, I needed some popcorn, honey, at that point because I was over there sipping my cup like, what is going on? You know, but shout out to them. I appreciate them having me.
Okay, so Mistaken just left us with the whole compatibility. And I know we spoke about this before, but my question is, what I'm seeing is a lot of people are trying to change people to make them fit what they want them to be. So do you think that people are wasting their time trying to date or pursue people they're just simply not compatible with?
Yes. End of statement. That was just it. That was just the answer. The answer is yes. There's nothing else.
Right. Right. Next question.
I'm sorry.
But isn't that what the whole YouTube, but isn't that what the whole YouTube thing is about? It's like you want fit, feminine, but you're trying to change women into being, and maybe they're just not those people. You know?
No, but see, the thing is,
Stacks.
But they have
innately you are.
though.
Like you actually are. You guys have been socially and conditionally taken out of what you naturally are. So a lot of people stick with people that they know that they don't have no business being with. They're not compatible with, because they feel that either somebody's gonna come around, they're gonna get out of that. They think it's a phase. They think they can change them, but this and that's that's most guys. Most guys want to be, man. She's not gonna be like I'm just hanging out. I'm just hanging out because I think she's gonna become something else. And women, I'm just, you know what, he's gonna get his big break one day. He wants to be a rapper. Somebody's gonna sign him and shit. I'm gonna stick by him. But when it comes to the fit, feminine, friendly part, see, the thing is, that's baked in the cake, as I like to say. You guys are that, whether you like it or not. I don't know if you ever seen the movie called Blue Lagoon. It came out a long time ago when I was young. It's about, you remember that movie? It's about a boy, a little baby, or two children growing up on an island with no outside connection. And it was an accident, and they kind of grew up, and and the movie showed how humans actually are naturally, how the guy was and how the girl was. It was just these two people on the island, from children growing up into adulthood, and how they connected. And so what you ladies are naturally built in should be fit, feminine, friendly, faithful, and fun. You should be, but you've been conditioned not to be. Earlier we were talking about, remember I was saying that, you know what, that's been sold to Black women. That ain't what's sold to the other, communities. But to the Black community, this is what they want you guys to do. Because maybe is it hidden racism? Is it some boogeyman in the dark room that's making sure Black people are destroyed? Could be not, whatever. The point is, what a lot of men are looking for from you ladies is what you can be, what you should be, and probably what you want to be, but the world is not allowing you to be, or is trying to push you not to be. So a little different.
I completely, I agree with what you're saying. I think some of us are, come out that way, but I have to beg to differ. I've seen kids that come out just at young ages. Ain't nobody taught them to be that way. They just got it going. They just come out with an attitude and everything else. But I wanted to say, when you say it's sold to Black women, I think that that's false. I think that there are women of all races. It may be a Western thing, but I think there are women of all races who don't display those three things.
Who?
So let's not forget feminism. It started by Black women. Yeah, we bought into it, but that wasn't started by us. That wasn't
No, but remember, there's a lot of different feminisms. The first two versions of feminism, everybody agree with. Suffrage and the right to work. The right to vote. Yeah, we all agree with that. The second one was the right to work. Yeah, that's cool. It's the last two that has really been sold to you guys. I don't need no man. You don't hear nobody. You don't hear no white women talking about I don't need no man.
Well, we're talking about
the white feminist movement.
I don't think that. Yeah, I'm talking about the femininity, like, all of the things, the submission and all of those types of things.
You said feminist, because I was talking about the feminist movements of individualism, which happened at the like the 90s, and then empowerment that came around about 10 years ago. The thing is, what I'm saying when I say Black women, you don't hear this, you don't hear it in other communities, and in such a large scale that it's affecting their community. You hear it, it's spots and everywhere. I think somebody said, when's the last time you saw an Asian pregnant woman? It's like, no, because they stay after the second trimester, they in the house, they don't come outside. That's a cultural thing, But with us, it's I don't need no man. If somebody said, everybody close your eyes, I don't need no man, who pops up? Who's the poster child for that? And there's a reason for that.
I'm actually trying to think of pregnant Asian women. I really don't see many.
You don't.
I'm really have me thinking. Like
I'm at Target.
I've seen a couple
they have children.
Wow.
They are reproducing. But listen, but that just threw me off. I can't.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
I can't remember.
Shan threw me off with that. It just completely took me off focus. I'm sorry, Shantae.
It's okay. It's okay. Maybe it wasn't meant to be said. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to say? Oh, with the women, I guess the question was, do people say I don't need a man? But needing a man, and would you want to be needed or wanted?
Needed.
Both.
I want you to need me. That's what I
both.
want. I want you to need, and I want to need you. I need you, baby. I don't want. I want is so surface level. I need you so I can become, so I can attain my goal, because there's slots and there's gaps in everything that I'm not seeing, and you are filling in those gaps. You covering me as I'm heading towards this purpose and this goal that I have for our family, and you're making sure I'm covered over here because I missed that. Oh, thank you for watching my six. I need that. I need a battle buddy.
I think that most Black women would agree that they do need, they want a man and they do need a man. I think they just don't need it to the point where they're willing to settle for any man. Like, I think that when the options, if you're saying these options aren't available, they don't need one that much to make them go, to the guy that.
Yeah, but it's sensationalized. It's sensationalized and move. When you hear the number one Destiny's Child song is "Independent Woman." It's made him. It's 5 times more than all the rest of the songs in terms of sales. Then you got what's the name of the song? To the left, to the left. I mean, it's sold. I get it. We don't. We all need women. Black women. We need a man. We just don't need any old man. But that ain't what's sold. It's we don't need a man, and we can do what he does.
But with the songs that you're singing are because of the constant, something happened and she went through something and she's like, well, I don't need a man. She's building herself up. I don't think that those people don't say I don't need a man just because they're like, I don't need a man. I think that something happened. He may have done something to her and now she's mad. Like, I don't need a man. And you got the girls coming around, girl, you don't need him.
But that's the color purpling. That's the color purpling of America. See, that's the thing about it. So, like, when the color that everybody, and so what it's sold is that also Black men are these big boogeymen out here that's beating on Celie, and we gonna cheat on you, and we gonna have a family on the other side of town, and we got holes in different area codes, and we sell it, and it's sold that way. When that's by and large not the case. But what happens is women will vicariously live through the trauma of somebody else that they never experienced themselves, simply because you guys have a hive mentality. So you ain't never got cheated on. You ain't never went through that, but somehow you gonna figure out a way, or you gonna create that in a relationship that's probably harmonious, simply because you're identifying because maybe your friends is doing it. It's just the thing is, we all know once we get older that we need each other. The thing, we need to know that younger. We're learning that too late. We're realizing it too late. We don't need to figure that shit out at 35. We need to know that at 25. We need to know that at 20, so we can prepare. So when we get to that sweet age that Trill said, 25, we're ready for a solid relationship. But we're being told, women are being told, don't worry about that. You don't need that. Men are being told, don't worry about that. You don't need that. And then we're learning it way too late. And now we done fell apart, while other communities is learning that shit fresh out of high school.
Let me one more question, and I'll be done. I promise. I'll move on. But I also heard songs back in the day, because I'd be confused. I mean, the trends change, and it seems like if people's minds change. Because I do remember a time when it was like Miss Independent. That's why I love her. Like
Neo.
Right. So it was a time when men were preaching, we want an independent woman. And so then women go become independent. And it's like, oh, we don't want that no more. We want this. So it's like.
Listen, Black people believe music more than anybody else. That is, I'm not saying it wasn't sold to you guys. We were told to be gangsters. Yeah. I hear in YouTube and these dating and mating streets, we putting all the onus on women and we're telling you about your music, but we got some shit too. And Trill is one of the biggest proponents of, we need these boys to get together as well. We were told bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.
Y'all were.
We were told it ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. Yeah. That's the song we were sold. Y'all was sold Beyonce's and Lil Kim's, but we also had NWA and Snoop telling us what to do. And so Neo comes along and like, Miss Independent, we want you to be, you are boss. You the boss. And remember the music video with Neo? It was Nia Long, I think was the girl, was the main character. And it was either Nia Long or what?
Had all the like independent leading black females in that video.
Yeah, so she was his supervisor, and he was at work dancing and shit all in her office and saying, "I want you," and all that. And so we were sold. Oh, so we were sold. Okay, so yeah, we want our woman to be the boss.
Right.
That's the songs that they released. If they sold anything that empowered the men on a positive side, those songs got shelved and they never got released to begin with. It's all by design, if you ask me. But I know this is not a.
I could talk a whole day on that. I absolutely agree. But I think that's the great thing about having you two, because we're actually able to hear the voices of men speak and women speak. Before, we only had the music. We weren't listening to people, as a whole. We didn't have these spaces to have these conversations.
How
that's the scary part.
How is the need created? I guess that's what it is. At this point, if men say that they need women and women are saying that they need men, then how do one create that need? Because I do think we have moved from the idea of needing each other because we've had to do things on our own, right? So it's like, as women, we've had to be independent, so how do we get back to creating the need for each other?
Well, that's where, because we actually didn't need to do the stuff that we did. We just did it out of convenience and because it was free money and all. That's a lot of other reasons we can get into that. But that's where we put the onus back on women. That's where I put the responsibility square on your shoulders, ladies. People say, "Oh, it's everybody." Guys got shit to do too. But ladies, you have access to sex where it all starts.
But I
have
think
you guys ever seen that movie? Have you seen that movie, Chirac? Have you guys ever seen that movie, Chirac?
No.
Okay, so there's a movie that came out called Chirac, produced, written, and directed by Spike Lee. It's about Chicago and the gangsters and whatnot. And what happened in the movie was, the women in the movies decided to stop having sex with all the men in Chicago to get them to stop the violence. And then in the movie, it caught on nationwide, and then all women nationwide stopped having sex with men to get them to start acting right. The movie was a flop. You'll hate watching it. It's hard. It's a hard watch. But the premise of the movie is, women, you guys have more power than you actually think you do, and far too many women are giving that power away just for twerks. I mean, just for likes and follows. And so when I say that the onus is on you, yeah, well, men, everybody always talking about who has access to this. Well, men have access to relationships and marriage, and women have access to sex and children. Well, we go in order. Let's put this in chronological order. Which one is first in a 2022 society? Sex. Everything falls in line if the ladies will close their legs. But women are not doing that. And so because you guys are giving away so much power between your legs, we're having issues, and men are going to take advantage of that if they can. But if they didn't have that, if women were a little bit more virtuous today than they are currently, then I think a lot of stuff would start coming around, and this whole need thing would kind of work itself out. Mistaken, it would be a lot of guys saying, "God damn, I gotta." So I gotta, like, I don't believe broke boys deserve, like, what did Cardi say? Broke boys don't deserve no pussy. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. I believe it, but why do I gotta make money if I'm getting what I need from all these chicks is let me borrow their car when they at work?
So let me just say this, and I don't want to put this narrative out about people, but this is what I heard from a man of that race. That it's not hard to get. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a person just brought a good point up in the chat, and the chat was, well, then they'll complain and say they'll go get it from another race of women. Okay, because a lot of other races, they don't have that problem, and their men still marry them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they'll have sex on the first day, married a year later. So if you're telling us to close our leg, and if we do close our legs, hypothetically speaking, some men will just be like, well, I can go over to Sue, she'll give it to me.
That's not true.
I've got pushback because, Shannon, I've heard you say, if a woman ain't giving me none, you gonna break out. You're not gonna stay around.
You never heard me say that.
I promise you. I promise you. It was a recent one that I had watched, because they were talking about sex, and the question was, like, some about women, playing games and withholding sex for like, 6 months or 90 days before they
Oh, that was on
decide to
Chic
have
Room
sex
the other
with
night.
you.
Okay.
Yeah. And you
They
said,
said with okay, I'm not waiting. Yeah, okay, so
you
that's a
said, I'm
different
not waiting that long.
I'm not. I'm
So
not.
that's our point. So now you're trying to
No,
say,
what you said was that I'm gonna
now
go
you're
outside
trying to
and get it
say,
somewhere else. I'm not going outside and getting nowhere else. I'm
You're
not.
just looking
So
the next woman.
her to Shantae's point. That was Trill and
So
them
if
all
you're
saying,
not waiting,
you should
you're
wait
not
if it's
going
good if
outside.
she's worthy. I was like,
Go
fuck
to the
that.
next
Nah,
woman.
that wasn't true. Trill ain't say shit like that. Trill ain't waited in his life. You hear me? But continue. Hell no.
Like,
I'm
so
gone.
I gotta explain that, because in that scenario, you're like, I'm not
that's a
waiting.
different. Okay, that's a
90
different.
days. How's that
That's
different?
waiting for sex in a relationship if it's worth it. That was the question. Right? That's a different topic. I'm not waiting for no pussy. I'm not waiting, but that's a different topic.
But you just
But
you're not
They
waiting.
just said
But
in
what
order
you're
to
asking now, what you're
wait
asking
for
now,
the next
Shantae is saying if women were to become, if overnight suddenly women were to stop having sex with men to get shit together, men would just say, okay, well, I'm gonna go over here to Conchita, Maria, Mingling, and all the rest. That's not gonna happen.
woman.
That's not gonna happen. Well, we gonna because you know what? Because the reality is black men want black women by and large, no matter how much money we make. Even as rich as we get, we still marry black women to the tune of 8 out of 10 of us.
Yeah.
So the reality is it's on you, ladies, to Miss Taken's question. Well, how do we get back to this needing and understanding? Ladies, it's on you. It's a big job, but somebody's got to do it.
So
But
you think
I'm
not
still
having
not
sex is
understanding the
motivate the
difference,
need
though.
to be responsible and lead to marriage? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to follow how the eliminating the sex
No, not
leads
eliminating.
to
Don't you dare
need.
eliminate it.
Well,
Oh,
well, 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 I mean, like you said, keeping your legs closed is going to create the need that I was referring to, or should I say what you were referring to? You were
Be-
saying that how does that create the need?
Because what you'll do is you'll cause men, especially our young men, to start doing what they're naturally. I just talked about natural
right.
for
Going
women, but
back
I
to the
didn't touch
natural
on men.
state. Mm-hmm.
Men have a natural propensity to be who they are as well. We are providers naturally. We want to work. Like, we want men weight is built for shoulders, not hips. We want to dig a ditch, believe it or not. We want to go out in the sun and build that shack, watch Color Purple. We want to build Harpo's juke joint. We want to do that, but we won't do it if we don't have to. But if you snap us into being who we're designed to be, to fix this and to work on that and to protect this and to watch over that and look over our flock and be the shepherds that we're created to be, we will. And that's what would happen if you guys become the women that you are designed to be. But as long as you think that you're me and you can do me and you're as good as me and you can be better than me and you don't need me, you want me, but you don't need me, and you make it as much money as me and all these other things, you're just basically replacing me, then what's the point? I don't need to do nothing. And then at
I
the
was
same
definitely going to say that. Just to
time,
answer
and
the,
not requiring nothing. You're
Yeah.
having sex with me and you're giving me all the goodies, and I don't even have to produce nothing. Then
But
you're
I
gonna create a whole nation of men that are non-producer males.
But I think when you hear women, there is a need and a want. But I think when you hear most women say, "Oh, I don't need a man," I think that specifically comes from a financial standpoint. If they can financially take care of themselves, that's usually when you typically hear women say, "Oh, I don't need a man." But no, you might not need him financially, but you need him for other areas. Like, I don't know about y'all, I can't physically please myself in the way that a man can please me. I can't touch myself the way a man would touch me. There's shit in the house that I don't want to do that I need a man to do. I don't like taking out the garbage. I don't like doing anything related to a car. I hate pumping gas. So I need you for a whole lot of shit. I need you and I want you. So
Well, that's what we learned that during the pandemic, didn't we? When all the toilet paper ran out, women lost their shit. Didn't know what to do.
Because we need tissue.
Because I remember it distinctly. I think I talked about this on either my show or on, I don't know. I distinctly remember in the end of March of 2020, maybe early April, going to Target on La Cienega and Rodeo here in Los Angeles, and women losing their minds in Target because there was no toilet paper. Men
You know how much toilet tissue we go through?
Men were cool, calm, and collected, like it was no big deal, just looking for some hand sanitizer, trying to get a hustle. Maybe there's a pallet in the back. Women was going off on the manager. Y'all lost your minds. We learned during 2020 how much men are needed. Women learned specifically how much men are needed, especially the ones that was screaming how much they didn't need us. Now, if financials are the biggest piece of that trope that women have been saying for the last 20 years, that's cool. But here's the problem. That piece means so much to men that you emasculate us as a result of it. And so when the financial part is, well, I don't need you for money. I need you for other stuff, but I need you for money. We start to feel like, well, wait a minute now. And then when you get to the point where you're giving me all this talk back, push back, neck snapping and finger snapping because you making money and you could do and say anything you want to us, at that point, it's like, well, shit, I don't want to change your tires. If that's called AAA, then shit. So you got the money to pay the bill. So it all triggers. You know, everything is about. I think Floyd Mayweather said it best. Everything is about money.
But I think also too that a man from even back in the day is supposed to be the provider. So if you always got a woman that's constantly talking about how much she make and what she can do for herself financially, that man is going to feel like that he can't do anything for you financially, because and some men, they want to be able to know that they can provide for their women. So if you don't need me, I don't think no man is checking for a woman that doesn't need him. We need you. Because what else are you going to have to offer a man if you're telling him you don't need him?
I think, you know, I might be wrong, but this is just my opinion. I think men, depending on the man, especially if he's a man that, you know, of leadership, I think based on how he moves, show women where he is needed, because he's already going to be moving in a space that you didn't even know that there was a need for him to be there. And so I think if you're stepping into your role of leadership, then you would know. I think it boils down to the fact that a lot of times men aren't stepping into their roles of leadership, and then women are trying to fill that void on their own. So then they end up creating a situation in which now they're looking at a man like, oh, well, I'm doing this. I don't necessarily need you to do that. However, if a man is playing his role, a woman is going to be able to see where he's needed. So I think it's on a man to kind of step up into that and take headship, take leadership over what they of creating that need, I guess. And I know, Shannon, you were saying women need to close their legs. I'm not saying that may not have an impact.
No, I got you.
I think for the most part, if a man is standing in his role as a man, he's going to be showing where that need is there. Especially when y'all say money don't even matter to y'all, when y'all, you know, are on your grind. If money's not an issue, then it would be on you to show where else the man is needed, because the only flex that a woman will have at that point is the financial aspect. Like Tam said, they're typically flexing on the financial aspect. So what are you doing to create that need that she's going to see?
So one of the biggest arguments that women give today is that you want me to be submissive, but give me something to submit to. I ain't seeing no leaders. Y'all ain't got no, you ain't leading nothing. And oftentimes a lot of guys don't have programs. I think that was our show this Tuesday, right? Trill on Queen Talk. What programs do men have in place? We were talking about that. And, and I was giving a breakdown on the difference between having vision and having goals and having a purpose. And then, of course, I added having a program. So, but one of the arguments that a lot of women today is like, well, men aren't leaders. But the way humans work, we're a colonial species, and it's all about the consent of the governed. If you want me to be a good coach, I need players first. I cannot build a mini Wakanda with uncooperative and unwilling women to be good citizens. How can a man do anything if you can't find a woman to get behind him? You want me to lead? There needs to be followers first. Modern laws have allowed the followers to pick and choose who the leader is. And if he ain't leading the way I want in all points, then I'm going to throw him away and find me another one, because he didn't hit all my points. He may have hit most of them, but not all of them. So I get what you're saying, that men need to step up and be the men that they need to be to lead the women and be the, but nobody's perfect. But now that you've gotten the freedom to be able to say, well, you know what? I don't like the way he fold the clothes, or I don't like the way he parked the car. I don't like the kind of peanut butter he buy. So now I'm gonna go and give him some pushback. And now because he blows up or he loses his shit over something trivial in our relationship, I'm gonna just go ahead and throw him away and find another one that can potentially lead. And now I'm out here saying, ain't none of them leaders. I think all men have the capacity to lead, but what has to happen is we have to have good players. Now, I get it. When a team is shitty in the NBA, and I'm not a sports guy, but they fire the coach, right? I get it. I understand it. They don't replace the entire team. They get rid of the coach. But you got to have a team that wants to play the game first before you find a good coach. And sometimes coaches learn as on the job and learn how to be better coaches as they go along. So this is a what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The good follower or the good leader? The good follower or the good leader? In a modern society where we just got out of Jim Crow 50 years ago. No matter how you slice it, y'all, we need each other. And if we ain't perfect, us men ain't got it together, work with us, ladies. And ladies, we're trying to work with you. But if you got me out here competing with welfare and the government, and I got to go against him, my check got to go against whether you can get a welfare, EBT card and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm going to lose every time. So just, again, I'm putting it back on women. Work with us, because we marrying for love. There's not money, other benefits for a guy to get married, especially especially when 97% of us is paying alimony after we break up, and 80% of y'all are the one that's breaking us up. Work with us. Even though we fuck up sometimes, we may not have it all together. We'll get it together if you guys are willing to be great players first. That's my personal philosophy. I can't prove it because this is the first time in history we've been dealing with this shit. Mm-hmm. But I just have a feeling that right there would be the best solution.
See, I also think just teaching women how to know what a leader is and how to choose leaders, I feel like is uber important. We just gave women a lot of credit about an hour ago for having detective skills and being nosy and going through mail. And I can tell you a social security number. I can tell you where the mama live at, the sister live at, ex-girlfriend live at, all that shit. Women have all those investigative skills and still have trouble finding a man who can lead. Somebody make that make sense for me. You've been talking to that man for that long, and then you're still bucking the system. So what that means is for either one, you don't know what a leader is, so you don't know how to choose a leader, or you're choosing to go against the grain knowing that this man is a great leader. Either way, the work is to be done on your end.
That's a bar.
What I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I think, we have to like really sit our women down and show them what real leadership is. Fact is, real leadership is boring. Women don't like boring. Right, because real leadership requires consistency. Real leadership requires sometimes not going with the sexy option, because we looking 10 steps ahead. I don't know if y'all play chess or not, but they say if you less than 3 steps ahead, then you're behind. So great leaders are looking down the road. So a lot of times, it's not as flashy, it's not as sexy, it's not as spicy. You know what I'm saying? But it's healthy for you. But the fact is, most women don't want boring. They don't, and that's why they'll spend a lot of their youth, rebelling against that, going away from that. Cause I want that nigga that's that got all the hoes, or that's popular, or that he tough and he fight, and he shoot and he sell drugs and he got money and he got this and he got that, or he just has a lot of women follow him. So a lot of women will waste a lot of their youth on that, and sometimes bring kids into the world and lower their stock based on that, and then somewhere along the line and hit them like, damn, this type of man is not a good leader. But by then you done dug a ditch that a great leader is gonna have to come in and fill. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of that can be avoided, if we taught our women what leadership looked like, and women, when you run into a good leader, get out of the fucking way. Sit in the passenger seat. I say it all the time. Like, it's nothing more annoying to a leader than me driving the car, you sitting in the passenger seat and constantly reaching for my steering wheel. Your job is to consult me, sure. But, for you to feel like you can reach for the steering wheel, we got a problem already. And most men that are elite, which is the type of men that women want, they ain't gonna have the patience for that too much. You reach one time, okay, look, don't do that. That's not how I run things. That's not how we do things here. You do it one more time, he gone. You know what I'm saying? So, again, we all got work to do, but I feel like, women especially, man, like, we cannot give y'all all that credit for having investigative skills, and then y'all constantly choose terrible leaders. That's just a fact.
Mhm.
There's a pilot and a co-pilot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I've also seen too where, and I even speak from my own personal experience, but I know probably every woman has experienced this, where sometimes, like, you kind of know your man in terms of what you can and can't get away with, right? So it's kind of like along the lines of, when your man has set a certain boundary, you don't cross it, and you know not to. So that's what I'm saying. Like, in terms of a leader, like, I just think when men are operating in that leadership capacity, I'll say for most women, I know you have outliers, but I'm talking about for most women, the more you find out who you are as a man and what that means, then 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 a woman that she can become will begin to appear, because she begins to adapt to what you're doing. Like, I noticed myself, like, picking up certain habits and doing certain things because of the way that my husband moved, or because of things that he would say and do. And I'm found myself like, oh shoot, I'm not even realizing that I'm doing the same thing. And so that's why I'm not trying to take any ownership off of women, because we definitely have our own work to do. We have a lot of work to do. But I also think that part of our work can be guided through you guys stepping into your role as a leader. That means you have to take the first step, so we'll know what to follow. So if we don't have enough men that are stepping into their roles of finding out what leadership look like, what manhood look like, what a husband looks like, then to put it on a woman and say, you just need to submit and follow the program, you have to give us some kind of roadmap in order to do that. And I just see that the roadmap is kind of not there. And I'm not even saying that there's not a lack of men trying. I just think that they don't have enough other men to teach them and show them the right way. And like you said, they're trying to learn along the way. But while they're learning along the way, the women are also, bystanders of that learning as well.
So are you saying that it goes back to the fatherless homes for boys, for men, for women and men then, right?
Yeah, because both are
Their
affected.
leadership and their examples would come from there. So if you have
And women
male
being able to
raised by
choose,
women, right, they're not going
right.
to have that leadership example. And similarly, women aren't going to see what a leader is.
both are affected is my point. Like both men and women are affected, but if the goal is we need to get women back on the program, so to speak, it would behoove the men to make sure that they are leading by example.
But
The
if
ones
they don't
that,
know how to lead because they don't have examples, I guess when you
So
have men like Trill, I think I don't know his upbringing and his family dynamic, but a lot of these men who don't have male examples in the home, then I guess the question is, how are they learning it then? Because if they don't have a father in the home, because most of these households are single female households, then how are they learning? So you're expecting something from a group of people who don't, or that it's like the blind leading the blind is kind of what you're
right, I think that's both of us. Who are we following as well? Like they're not leading, we're not following. We don't know who to follow because nobody's leading.
But see, my only pushback to that is that I'm not saying just blindly lead just because he's a man. I feel like leadership is earned through experience. You're right. A lot of us don't have that tutelage, but because our livelihood depends on it, men are forced to learn how to lead. Women not so much, right? Y'all are women. Like if y'all wanted to, really, just like April Mason says all the time. So to April Mason, when she comes around men, she say my wrist broke. I'm not opening the door. I'm not lifting anything up. If I have to walk upstairs, and a man is right there, he's gonna help me up the stairs. That type. So women have the option to not have to lead, right? But as a man, our livelihood depends on it. How many women we get depends on it. How far we go in our career depends on it. How we raise our kids turn out depends on it. We can't just fall back under anybody's leadership. So I think you're right. Initially, a lot of us don't have that tutelage, but we go out and we learn the hard way. But even still, aside from that, I feel like it's plenty of men who are capable of leading. But again, if you are not familiar with what real leadership looks like, you're going to deem it as, oh, he's trying to control me. Because let's just be honest here. A lot of women have, a lot of past traumas and different things that they bring into these relationships, men too. But we talking about women trying to just pick what a leader is. A lot of them have past traumas and different things like that, right? So she comes into the relationship as a skeptic right out the gate. This man could know good and well what he's doing. Great track record. Went to school, graduated, advanced in his career. Solid dude. He got a decent network around him. Good family man. Love his moms. All that. And because of the trauma that you bring into the relationship, you'll still question his leadership. You'll still question the direction he's trying to take you because that's not the direction that's familiar with what you've been doing as a single woman or what you've been doing because you've been forced to lead in your other relationships, right? So I think it's a lot of men that are capable of leading, but because y'all are not familiar with what great leadership looks like, you're going to be more prone to buck the system. And until you buck the system enough to where that good man leaves you, and then that's when it hit like, oh shit, wait a minute. He wasn't trying to control me. He was trying to elevate me. Damn, when I was with him, my lifestyle was here. But now that I'm over here with this no nothing ass nigga that can't lead for nothing, I'm having to lead. Now I'm stressed every day and all type of shit. So I think a lot of women have to lose a great man to
That's
learn
when
what
you get the
leadership
hey big
is.
head text.
So I got a
Right.
question, Trill. I got a question.
Sure.
What are the
Hey
qualities?
big head.
Real quick, what are qualities of a good man to you? What should we be looking for? These are the qualities. You just named some, but a lot of men don't fit that criteria. They don't fit that. So I want you to go back and say
Don't
it
do
again.
that, Shannon.
What's the face, Shannon? What's the
Don't
face?
do that, Shannon. They don't.
Because I think that what happens is a lot of the men who don't, they don't hear, they just hear you saying you should be following men. They don't hear the qualities you just naming, like, oh, well, damn, I'm not that. So
Yeah. The thing is this, right? And that's why, man, salute to my dogs, man, on my gang with the crew, man. We give men a lot of advice as well, right? The advice that we give men, put together a resume. Like a woman should choose leadership based on your resume. So like when you dating these women, right? The first thing that you should be looking for, now, aside from the looks and, oh, he's handsome. He has a pretty smile, pretty teeth, and, V cuts and six packs and things of that nature, right? Look at his resume. What has he completed? Man, like a lot of men tell you again, men talk a great game. Oh yeah, man, I'm about to go back to school, man. Oh, yeah, I'm about to get my cert to go get this job, or I'm about to go do this. I'm about to go do that. About to go do this. About to go do that. And because you like the man so much, right? Y'all have a propensity to make decisions based on what you feel like their potential is. May not be what their real potential is, but you feel like it is, right? So for me, the advice that I give to women is simplify that. Look at his resume. What has he completed? So hypothetically speaking, it's like Shan saying earlier, if a trio comes to your door, right? Say me at 24, 25, right? I graduated from high school. We had a class of 600. I was number 8 in it academically. I was all state in football. Played college ball. Graduated college with an accounting degree, cum laude. Jumped right into my career, intern, with a top, again, corporate company right before I even graduated, left there, jumped right into a leadership role in that aspect as well, right? So again, when I'm approaching you at 25, mind you, my resume should speak to my leadership capabilities, right? But,
So
aside from that,
that your resume is exceptional.
yeah, sure, but we could break that down into even smaller terms, right? Because everybody don't go to college, right? Some people may go to the military. Yeah, but he done been in the military. He done renewed 3 times, right? So now so on his resume, I see discipline, I see commitment. He's willing to dedicate himself to something that he feels like is bigger than himself, and he has this type of rank in the military. So that shows that he has leadership capabilities, right? Or let's break it down even farther than that. You can have a street dude or whatever, because a lot of women like street dudes, and all street dudes is not bad, right? You got certain street dudes that's out here still getting their search to go cut hair, and he didn't open up a barber shop, and he making 6 figures from the barber shop. You know what I'm saying? So again, when I say what has he completed, like is he respected? Like how does his circle view him? Is he the little man in the circle, or do people look up to him? Like what is his leadership capabilities? A lot of these things, if you did just a decent amount of investigating and looking at resumes, you'll be able to make way healthier decisions, right? But the fact is that most women let they like for the man blind them to the investigating that they should really be doing. Instead, y'all investigating shit based on things that could affect you in terms of him cheating or something like that. Like y'all put all y'all investigative skills into that. But in terms of vetting this man to see, okay, what leadership capability does he have? What does his resume look like? What is he finished? Like again, what type of respect does he get? Y'all look past that. And my advice to answer the question would be look at the man's resume. It's going to tell you everything that you need to know. And as far as men, you're right. Every man should not be followed just because he's a man. I would not say that. I don't give a damn. I feel like leadership is earned. It's made. It's based on what you've accomplished. Me having a dick between my legs does not make me a leader. So when we give a man advice, go out here and accomplish something. Don't just say, "Oh, nah, woman should submit to me." Yeah, but you live in an apartment with 3 roommates. You don't have a car. Like you in between jobs. You inconsistent in what you value from a day to day. Every time I talk to you, you have a new plan that you talking about doing, but you ain't never finishing shit. So as a man, put together a resume, and then women will be way more willing to go along with your program. So that's the advice that we giving them on that side. And on the opposite side, we telling women to look at resumes to make decisions. So
that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Loved every bit
So-
of it.
I did a show called Mr. Shan's Guide on How to Keep a Man for Women.
Okay.
The next show I did was Mr. Shan's Guide on How to Get a Woman for Men. Now, typically when I speak to men, I want women to listen because I want them to look for the men that I'm explaining things to for men. So if I'm telling guys this is what you need to do, I want women to look and say, that's the kind of guy I need to find. If I'm telling women about something themselves, I want men to look at I want men to be in the dating space looking for women that I'm giving that game to. So on the show that I did, Mr. Shan's Get a Woman Guide for Men, there's 9 things that all men need to do to get the woman he wants. Now, men can get women, right? Women can get men, but oftentimes what guys are having issues with these days is they're not getting the woman that they want, right? The girl that I like don't like me back is one of the biggest arguments. Job, clean, teeth, hair, watch, truthfulness, humor, a listener, and checking on her. Those are the 9 things. So the number one is what Trill just said. It was the first thing I put on my list. You got to have a job, but you got to have long-term job history. So you're wondering what women should look for. I'm going to just say this in reverse. The first one and the biggest one that I talked about is what Trill talked about. Job with long-term job history. I won't go into the weeds. I did a whole show on it. The second one is a man needs to be clean, immaculate. White needs to be white, not dingy white. Okay? Crispy white. Fingernails need to be clean. The other one is teeth. Brothers got to get their teeth fixed. Ladies, you should look for men that have straight teeth. I know that's something that you guys already do. That's why I'm telling men that they need to do that. The other one is he needs to keep a clean haircut at all times. And if he's single, he needs to cut his hair every week. If he's in a relationship, he needs to cut his hair every 2 weeks. No booger wolves, ever. The fifth one is men need to have a nice watch. See, somebody had asked me later, like, Shan, what does the watch have to do with getting women, man? It speaks to so much more. The punctuality, timeliness, the refinement of having a fine timepiece says something to women. This is what I was telling him. But this is what women want to look for. And I said it has nothing to do with wearing an Apple Watch. You can go, and I'm not saying that you have to have a Rolex. You can have, but you got to have something nice. And with ladies, if you guys are looking at guys that don't wear any watches whatsoever, ever, he uses his phone for his watch and his everything and all, then that could be a problem long term with things that may not be directly related, but it speaks to stuff that's going to irritate the shit out of you if you get married to him. So a man needs to have a nice watch. Men need to tell the truth, especially when it hurts them. See, it's one thing for guys to tell the truth and always keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100. Look for when a guy keeps it 100 and it goes against his best interest. You want to find somebody that's going to work out for you long term. Did he tell you the truth when he didn't have to? And when he did, it didn't help him. It's like, damn, I don't want to tell you this. And I kind of don't even have to, but it's the truth. And the truth matters. Look for guys who tell the truth when it doesn't benefit him. Not just say he's claiming he's keeping it 100, but when it hurts him and he still told you that, look for those guys. The other one is, the number 7 is he needs to be funny. He has to have a sense of humor. Laughter is what takes old folk into, you don't want to be a grumpy old motherfucker. And I got that from old people. He was like, sense of humor matters. Being able to not sweat that comes with like not sweating the small stuff, especially later on in life. You think I'm not talking class clown type funny. I'm not talking slapstick comedy. I'm just saying taking life a little bit less stressful to relieve stress off your body so you can live longer. So you do want a guy that has some sense of humor in all things in life. The number 8 is you need a guy that listens intently. So it's one thing for a guy to hear you, but you don't want somebody, oh yeah. Okay, what happened? What'd your coworker say? Okay, No, you want a guy that's gonna be like this. So what happened? Now he may not even want to listen at you, because we oftentimes don't. We want to hear shit that you're talking about. But I care enough about you that I know that this matters to you. So I'm gonna give you this amount of I'm gonna give you this kind of attention. Go ahead. Right. And then what'd your coworker say? Oh, damn. Oh, okay. And so then what did you do? Okay. You need somebody who wants to listen to you intently. But I'm telling men that they need to listen intently, not just haphazardly and kind of like, oh, wait, I missed that part. What was that? You don't want somebody like that. And then the last one is you need a guy that's going to be able to check on you. He has to check on you. That's the first P of the 4 Ps: protect, provide, problem solve, and procreate. He needs to be able to protect. Protection includes, are you good? I ain't saying that he needs to pay your bills. I ain't saying that he needs to come, bring you ice cream at 2:00 in the morning because you feeling bad and you want some. But he just needs to make sure that you're okay. And you want a guy that's going to check on you, not the good morning, beautiful text messages. I'm not talking about those. Hey, beautiful. I ain't talking about those. That's not checking on you. That's just making sure that's just checking your temperature to make sure you're still on the roster. I'm talking about a guy that's saying, hey, how did your day go? You good? Okay. Hey, I noticed that your tires are kind of low. When I left the house the other day, your front driver's side tire was low. Do you know how to put air in? If not, I can run it over there real quick, just so, because I need you to be able to get to work safe. If you got a guy,
that's what we need you for.
huh?
That's what we need you for.
Yeah.
If you got a guy that does those,
Well, what about mindset? This
Okay.
young lady brought a good point. What about his mindset?
Well, I think that's subjective, though, right?
That's true, but it's important.
Yeah, I mean, well, mindset, of course. Absolutely it is. But again, that's not something that I see this list of 9 things all men need to do to get women. And all women need to look for in a man. Mindset, I can't really say because it's like, well, who am I talking to? Where were you born?
I get you. That's individual. That's a individual thing.
Your list that you have is crazy. I'm still in the process of reading this book. It is called Man Leads, Woman Follows, Everyone Wins. And it actually kind of speaks to the roles that a husband should play. And I mean that list, it was basically done by like this expert or what have you that studied cultures, and she did a 2-year study of all different cultures of men and women, and just kind of found like a thread between those successful marriages and what men did in them and what the women did. And what actually led to that is my husband had just sent me the list of what it said women should do. And it was just 10 things. And I'm like, like, okay, yeah, all right, who's really going to be doing all of this, right? And then when I said, you know what, let me investigate where he got this from. And then I came across the book. But in the beginning of it, it really spoke to the role that men should play, how they should be in relation to their family, how they should be in relation to their wife, to their kids. And it was a list of 40 things for men. And it was 10 things for women. And after reading it, that list, I was like, oh, well, damn, I see if a man is actually doing all of this stuff, then I can see how the expectations of what women are supposed to do, it makes sense because it's a lot. Like I did not realize how much leadership of man leadership in the household is supposed to look. Like I said, I had my dad in the household, but I don't necessarily think that he was the best example. And that's not to say that he didn't do anything right, because he did. I remember one time my husband specifically told me, like, y'all are hard on your dad, but you got to give him some credit because at least he was there. Like, let's start there. He was at least there. And so there were other things that he did. But when I looked at this list, I was just like, wow, it creates the space, like how you guys are saying that you want women to be fit, feminine, and friendly. But looking at what that list said a leader should be doing, I can completely understand how you, by doing those things, you create a space that feels safe in order for a woman to be feminine, to be friendly, all of the F that you were talking about. Like, I was just amazed. And I'm like, okay, it is helping me get it. And you guys are saying it one way, reading it from this point is giving me another perspective. And I that's why I say I think really when you guys step into your manhood naturally, because like Shannon said, it's in us. I think naturally, for the most part, women will begin to follow. Now, that's not to say that we don't have our own work to do on our end, like you said, Trill, to recognize some of that. But I think when women feel like some of that load is being lifted and they just get a feel of what that feels like, we'll be ready to let all of the other stuff go. And I can speak to that from just my own personal experience when I got out of my own way, feeling like I had to, be a part of every single thing, or say, oh, you're mowing the lawn is no different than me vacuuming a house and blah, blah, blah. I could do it. And my husband's the type that's like, okay, all right, go ahead. And I got out there and went to go, do it and almost broke my ankle. I was like, oh, and he understands that I'm the type that like I can show you better than tell you. And I was like, all right, you got it. But I realized after I began to kind of step out the way and allow him to just do him without a lot of the input all the time, that I became less stressed out. and and he ended up doing more than what I expected, because it wasn't, me in a way, trying to direct stuff.
Was
Yeah,
that
I agree.
hypothetical? You didn't really tell your husband that vacuuming the floor is the same as mowing the lawn.
I
That's
did.
she
I
definitely
did. I did. And I actually, it was a little different. I grew up, my grandfather mowed the lawn, but he had a riding lawnmower.
Had you out there with
So
that
we used
push?
to be out there with him with the rider. I'm like, oh, I'm, the vacuum cleaner. I got to do all of these floors and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's no different than you pushing the lawnmower outside. And he's like,
Drastically
all right,
different,
go
man.
ahead.
So that's the thing, bro. Like all men want at the end of the day is gratitude. That's it. Because men, like, what? Let's be honest here. The responsibilities in a relationship are lopsided, and men know that when we walking into it, we accept that, we lean into that. With leadership comes great responsibility. It's cool, right? But all men want is this acknowledgement and gratitude of what it is that we doing and all the sacrifices we make. And I was watching a dude on TikTok the other day. He put a video out. He was talking about. He say, ladies. He say, you want to see how like the demands of the relationship is. I want you to just think to yourself, right? I don't want you to speak out loud. I just want you to think to yourself, like how much does your man ask you for on a day to day basis? Anything like what does your man ask you for on a day to day basis? Anything. And then he was like, I'll give you some time, right? He was walking around or whatever, and he came back to the camera. He said, okay. Now, ladies, I want you to think about how many times you call your man name throughout the day or around the house. And he said, I want you to think about that.
You said,
That's
okay,
my
thank
point
you.
exactly. And then
walked
he
away.
ended the video. Because again, if you done been living with your girl or you get in a marriage or the wife, whatever, every man know that annoying ass call from across the house. Babe, you already know. As soon as we hear that, it's like, oh shit, here we go. So it was just funny, when he brought that up. He said, ladies, just think about it. How much does your man ask you for on a day-to-day basis? Anything. But then think about how many times you call his name on a day-to-day basis to do things. And that's what men accept when we signing up for these relationships. And all we want is gratitude. That's it. So when you're challenging us at every turn and you trying to give input on everything, you are spitting in our face, essentially. Now, we're gonna take it well. We're gonna try to, coach you good because we love you. So we're gonna try to make it work. But after a while, it's only so many times, man, gonna just keep be getting slapped in the face, understanding that the weight of my responsibility is heavier in this situation. So yeah, I mean,
I agree. And I think initially I didn't, especially, being younger when we first got married, got together. I could say I truly didn't understand the weight of it. I just didn't. And I think as women, a lot of times we don't. I think some of the things, because we say it's an expectation, we take it for granted and don't necessarily appreciate it like we should. But I also think the reverse is true too. Just on both ends, we both play our roles, but I think we are so caught up in what we're doing that we don't necessarily look at how much the other person is contributing to the balance and the benefit of the relationship.
I want to go through this real fast. I got to go through these super chats so we can, we're summing this thing up. But I want to ask this question. This young man said, "What is a mindset?" It's very important. The mindset is. It's the way you think, like your philosophy on life, your values. Anybody else want to add to that?
my boy Smooth say something all the time in terms of mindset, man. Salute to Smooth. He said the true measure of a man, right, is like how he moves during chaos. So when we talking about mindset, right, like him being level headed, him being able to, just like I said, think 10 steps ahead, even though it's chaos around us. A real leader, a real man has the mindset to know this shit is gonna pass eventually. So let me set up plays to where when we come out of it, we're gonna be good. Right. So I feel like that's important in terms of a man mindset. How does he react during chaos? Does he get emotional? Does he get animated the same way a woman do? Or is he kind of, sitting back, analyzing? And again, it don't mean he's not nervous. Don't mean he's not scared. Don't mean none of that. But it just means that he has the calm and the foresight to, compartmentalize those things and make the decisions, just like Shan said earlier, that's uncomfortable but need to be done. So I feel like that's what a grown man's mindset should be.
Anybody else? No.
Can you really follow that? Like,
You did an awesome job. We're gonna, I guess we'll table because I know a few people have to leave or anything, but I want to go through these super chats.
Rebellious video, $2. I need food. I want filet mignon. Need is greater than want. Kelvin Cook, $5. We've been together 5 years. We both lose everything. No recovery in sight. Bankruptcy looming. Carjacked. House burned down. Bridges burnt. Now what?
Stay together.
Then y'all stay together and figure it out, right?
Stay together. Shit.
Chris the Rebel, $2. Court be looking like a slice of yellow cake. Chris the Rebel, $2. Neo just said that because women are the consumers.
Miss Independent.
What about Boosie? INDEPENDEN. You know that? Sorry. Am I the only one who likes scratch music? Sorry. Ricky Williams, $5. Hey, Ricky. Music doesn't dictate your decision. Is your mind yours? Reason or excuse? The truth is people don't want to make the changes. Get out of your ego. Facts.
That's true, but let's not take away the power of music in our community.
I mean, it definitely is a puppeteer, though. Like, we could get into it. Chris the Rebel can't lead anybody who don't want to be a follower. Hey, Miss Parker. People, CSI, FBI, CIA, and NSA, his whole family while ignoring his behavior and character.
That's true.
Catherine Forbes. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for always supporting us. We appreciate your perspective, gentlemen.
Yes, we do.
Brilliant. Anybody?
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliance. Okay.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Sorry.
Oh, that man, Beyonce.
Where
That's crazy.
you get Beyonce from?
Crazy.
Where's the Beyonce come from?
Beyonce.
Don't say Christina.
It's free. It's free.
Sorry, Brilliant. Sorry. Woo. We prefer.
She's sleepy, y'all. She's sleepy.
I am. I'm so sleep deprived, and I'm gonna be up late. So women prefer ineffectual men because they have to be under them. It's all about power and pedestals.
That's all the time. So I know a couple of our panelists have to leave, so we got to sum this up. Will you guys come back next week, Shan and Trill?
What's the topic?
I'll do my best.
Continuation, because
They don't want to give up their Fridays. We get it. Y'all don't want to give up y'all Fridays.
Look, man, y'all gonna understand, bro. I'll be live streaming about 4-5 days a week sometimes, bro.
I get it.
That'd be the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I am gonna try because again, I definitely respect all y'all opinion, man. I this is a healthy environment. A lot of panels is not a healthy environment. We just gonna keep it real. So I mean, salute to y'all and what y'all building. I love it.
And we try to
Has any relationships come out of all these content creators in this YouTube corner?
Well, we just getting started, so not yet.
I'm wondering, Trill, who's gotten married in our little, YouTube is a huge space, and in our little dating and mating, in our little black dating and mating space, has anybody connected?
Problem is, bro, is that everybody stay across the world from each other.
That's true.
That'd be the thing. Like we be on these panels frequently, but you ask motherfucker, oh yeah, I'm in Detroit. Oh, I'm in LA. Or I'm in New York.
Oh, you
Like,
you
shit,
mean
okay.
like a panelist? Oh no.
Yeah, the pan, because we all know we kind of like know each other. Those that are I call them content creators, the ones that cam up and discuss and get involved in the conversations.
Oh, here's a good one. Is JB and Cam are engaged?
Oh yeah. Well, I
See,
didn't know they were engaged.
JB
I
and
thought
Cam were
they were
engaged.
dating.
JB snatched her up from day one, though. She wasn't even. He like almost from day one. And the only place that we know her from is JB's Broken Dusty show.
Yeah.
So,
But see, that's prime example. Me and B knowing
when they want who
all
they
day
want.
figure out. They know who they want.
And,
Well, I can say
women be
on
knowing
a
we don't
positive
want
tip
but continue.
that
Facts.
I can say from a positive aspect of listening to different opinions, like from the different panels, that it has definitely helped me have a different perspective of the way that I'm interacting with my husband. And I see things, I mean, it was already good, but now I'm just seeing things even getting to the next level just because of certain things that I'm doing. Like he just sent me a text out of the blue today, just was like, I just wanted to let you know you're doing a good job. And I'm like, a good job at what? Being your wife? And he said yes. And so I'm like, wow, like he's even noticing as well. I'm learning to become a little more like laid back and
cooperative.
stress. Yes, that's the word, I guess. Much more cooperative. I wasn't necessarily uncooperative. I just think I always, wanted to be a part of the process. And I'm realizing that I don't necessarily need to be. That's really what it is.
I
Yeah,
take
think
the
that's
gems
enough.
from the show with my dating.
Absolutely. It's very
These gems, y'all be dropping just gems, and I just be like,
Yep.
I feel it though. Shit, I be doing just as much learning, man. That's why I be so quiet. People be like, "Damn, he quiet," but that's because I be listening. Because most panels, I'm typically the youngest on most panels, right? And I'm going through it in real time. So just hearing a bunch of different perspectives, even if I don't agree with them, I'm the type of person, if I could take something from it, I'm gonna take something from it. So I learn from each and every one of y'all, bro. That's real.
yeah. The
Thank
Thank
you,
You
Thank You
Man. When is he coming back? When you coming back? Thank You Man. Great show. Lots of gems.
Well, you guys, we're going to sum it up. The ladies have some things to do tomorrow. They let me know early on, hey, I cannot stay here all night long.
My
Just
mama
give me
in
a whole
town.
list of things he did all week.
I gotta catch
thank
a flight.
My mama in town. I gotta
so
go.
much. Shan, Trill, the ladies, Catherine in the chat, Miss Parker, Ricky, thank you guys. I know that troll was in there. I was trying to block him. Finally, you let me block him at the end of the night. Isn't that crazy? I'm so over it. Okay. Thanks everybody for showing up again. I love you guys. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. See you guys next Friday, 9 p.m.
No, you won't.
You want what?
I'll be in Dubai. I told you this. I told you this.
Better cam up in Dubai. Ain't no excuses, man.
Hey,
Grown
Trill,
man
you
time.
better let her know.
No, let her
know. All right,
So
see
we
you
need
guys.
a crossover show. We need a
Huh?
crossover
Not
show.
ever.
Coming to you from Dubai.
Hey.
And ask questions over there. Interview those ladies over
Can we cam
there.
up on cruise season?
Look here, man. Whenever y'all ready, just let me know. We be live every Wednesday night, 9:30. So whenever y'all ready, let me know. Y'all got an open invitation. Y'all don't gotta ask me nothing. Just let me know y'all pulling up.
That's why
For
we
sure.
love you.
Good. Yeah.
Appreciate the invite. All right, I might cam up. Depends what I'm
Next
doing.
week. See you later.
Maybe.
All right. Good night.